Chapter 165. Yang Haohan arranged for Long Haochen and Han Yu to live in the Basilica of the Night. Long Haochen and his mother lived next door. After reuniting with his mother for 2 days, he and Han Yu began to train. The Basilica of the Knights was located deep underground in the mountain of the dragon-resisting mountain pass. This was the place where the real treasure of the Knights Templars was located. Together with the Knights' sacred mountain in the south, they were known as the 2 greatest treasures of the Knights Templars. It was said that even the throne of God was in this underground treasure. However, Long Haochen and Han Yu were still far from being qualified to see the real throne of God. What made Long Haochen a little strange was that compared to the Assassin Temple and Warrior Temple that he had seen before, the Knights Templars didn't have any magnificent buildings. Because it was in the mountain, all he saw were stone rooms. He didn't even know where the real main hall of the Knights Templars was. Yang Haohan didn't give them much explanation. He just arranged for them to enter a cave and left. He also told them that with their cultivation, they had to complete at least rank 7 skills to be able to walk out of this cave. After entering the cave, Long Haochen suddenly had the same feeling as when he entered the Holy Alliance's treasure pavilion in the Holy City. The spiritual power in the surrounding air was very strong. The faint golden light gave people a feeling of illusion. He originally walked into the cave with Han Yu, but when he calmed down and stood still, he was surprised to find that Han Yu had disappeared. The surrounding was full of soft light attribute spiritual power, giving people a very comfortable feeling. The abundant light elements were naturally swallowed by the 3 spiritual orifices in Long Haochen's breath. He didn't rush to go inside. Long Haochen sat down on the spot. Although his spiritual power was very abundant, he knew that this was not his best state. Because he was impetuous. Ever since the demons returned from the dark swamp in the Andu province, his heart had not been able to calm down. After returning to the Exorcist Mountain Pass, he had experienced sorrow and joy several times, his mood fluctuating greatly. Even the tranquility and clarity that the Sun-Moon Divine Snail had given him back then had long been affected. However, the Sun-Moon Divine Snail also gave him a sense of clarity and calmness. Thus, Long Haochen was able to sit there quietly. He needed time to get rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind. Even the tiniest stray thought hidden in the dark must be completely eliminated. This was the only way he could fully immerse himself in cultivation. He wanted to achieve the greatest improvement in the shortest amount of time. Closing his eyes, Long Haochen calmed down and began to meditate. Feeling the gentle light elements in the air, the lines of his face became softer. With a flicker of golden light, Yiting quietly appeared behind Long Haochen. She also sat there cross-legged, closing her eyes like Long Haochen. She slowly raised the magic staff in her hand, and a golden halo naturally condensed around her and Long Haochen. Condensing and filtering, Yiting's actions seemed simple, but it was a huge help to Long Haochen. After the filtering, the light elements were extremely pure, and it was much easier for Long Haochen to absorb them. Yang Haohan silently stood in a stone room. There were 2 people behind him. On the left was a tall, round-faced old man. The old man's face was like a red date, and his nose was straight and his mouth was square. His expression was solemn, but also somewhat happy. On the other side was a man whose entire body was shrouded in a long gray robe. Even his head was covered. In front of Yang Haohan, there was a crystal ball with a diameter of 1 meter. The crystal ball emitted a faint golden light, and in that crystal ball, wasn't it Long Haochen sitting cross-legged in the Knights Templars' treasure cave? Yang Haohan smiled. He can still be so calm after entering the cave of illusion. This child has really grown up. He's not even 18 yet, but he has such a steady mind. It seems that Xingyu was right. After all these years of experience, this child has really become a talent. The round-faced old man behind Yang Haohan snorted coldly. Right? What right? I've long said that I wanted to bring Haochen here, but he just wouldn't agree. Humph, as he spoke, He glanced at the man in gray beside him, whose face could not be seen clearly. Yang Haohan smiled faintly and said, "Brother Long, don't pretend to be innocent after getting a bargain. Without Xingyu, do you think you'd have such a good grandson? Didn't you hold back from running out and reuniting with him? I'll leave the glorious task of protecting this grandson of yours to you. Although he's your grandson, he's also the hope of the Knights Templars for the next 100 years. If he comes to any harm, I'll revoke your duty of protecting him, and protect him personally." If Long Haochen heard Yang Haohan's words, he would definitely be shocked. That old man with a face like a date was actually his biological grandfather. In terms of appearance, he really didn't have much resemblance to this grandfather. "Don't give me that. Although you're a little stronger than me, you're not that much stronger. Even if that guy, the Demon Emperor, came, he definitely wouldn't be able to harm my grandson." A sharp and domineering aura naturally rose from the round-faced old man's body. Within the silent majesty, there was a faint reddish-gold color spreading from his body. This old man was called Long Tianin. He was another of the 3 Knight of the Seal of the Knights Templars, the holder of the throne of God of Order and Law, and the Knight of the Seal of the Knights Templars who was in charge of controlling and restraining. The relationship between Long Tianin and Long Xingwu was not known to Long Haochen. Even within the Knights Templars, only a few people in the upper echelons knew about it. This was the rule of the Long family. No matter how powerful the elders were, the younger generation could not borrow their reputation and had to rely on their own abilities. Long Xingwu had relied on his own hard work to finally become a Knight of the Seal. Yang Haohan sighed. This time, the demons are coming in full force. It's hard to say who will emerge victorious in the Holy War. Although the hidden seniors of the Alliance have also come out of seclusion. But the number of demons is still much greater than ours. I hope that the Alliance's war path can be carried out. Long Tianin said, "Isn't it just stalling? We can't afford to stall. In terms of resources, the demons will definitely die. As long as we can persevere in this holy war, after a few years, just food alone will not be something that the demons can afford." Yang Haohan said, "What we can think of, the Demon Emperor can naturally think of as well. Brother Long, you can't be so optimistic." On the other side, the gray-clothed man said in a deep voice, "I'll leave first. Since Haochen has returned to the temple, I can rest assured." Long Tianin frowned. "Where are you going?" The gray-clothed man's voice revealed a thick killing intent behind the demons. After saying this, he turned around and strode away. Long Tianin and Yang Haohan glanced at each other, then said, "Brother Yang, after Haochen comes out of the illusion cave, I want to meet him and personally test him. What do you think?" Yang Haohan nodded slightly. "This is a matter between you grandfather and grandson, you can make the decision. However, I'm not good at defending cities, so dragon-resisting pass can't do without you." Long Tianin nodded. "It won't take too long. I'll go back and close the cave. When Haochen comes out, just let me know." Was Long Haochen really as calm as he appeared? The answer was no. The moment he closed his eyes, all kinds of chaotic thoughts surged into his mind. Kai Er's beautiful figure appeared first. That was her appearance when she suddenly awakened as a god's chosen. Then, the scene instantly changed to the moment before they separated from each other on the roof. After Kai it was his father. His father's dignified gaze was fixed on him, as if he was saying something to him. After him was his mother. His mother's eyes were always so melancholic and sad. Ever since he was young, he had been separated from his mother and father. His parents hadn't been together for at least 10 years. Finally, they were reunited. His father had gone missing because of the battle with Anan. Only his mother knew how much suffering she had suffered these past few years. His companions' appearances also appeared in Long Haochen's mind. From the first time they fought in Exorcist Mountain Pass, to the battle with the demons in Dread Howling Cave, to Southern Guard Pass, illusory paradise, and gloomy swamp, all these scenes flashed clearly in Long Houchen's mind. Under such circumstances, how could he calm down? A faint chill ran down his back. Long Houchen knew that it was fortunate that he was able to calm down and not advance rashly. Otherwise, it would only cause his mind to become more chaotic. Although he might be able to suppress these troubles in his heart, it would definitely gradually affect his will. It would affect the purity of a God's chosen's heart. Although he hadn't talked much with the sun-moon divine snail, it had reminded him of the most important point. That was the difference between a God's chosen and a God's chosen. The greatest advantage of a God's chosen was their own perfection. Whether it was their spirit or innate talent, they were all perfect existences. This was something that even the death God's chosen, Kyr, couldn't compare to. However, the greatest problem of a God's chosen was that they were too perfect. Being too perfect made it easier for them to be tainted. The facts proved that when the sun-moon divine snail appeared, didn't the God's chosen walk the wrong path because they were tainted? In the end, not only did they fail to save the continent, but they also became the sinners of the continent. This was especially so for the first generation of divine beasts, the Holy Dragon, and the Master of the Tower of Eternity, the Cataclysm Electrolux. Therefore, for a God's chosen, it was actually very important to reflect on oneself. The sun-moon divine snail left this world, leaving only a shell for Long Houchen. However, before it died, it also used the last of its strength to help Long Houchen clear his heart. Although it didn't say it directly, it used its actions to tell Long Houchen what he should do. Yes, self-reflection. Only by constantly reflecting on oneself and keeping one's heart bright and clear could the Son of Light be the Son of Light forever. Thank you, sun-moon divine snail. Long Houchen sighed from the bottom of his heart. Long Houchen did not deliberately resist these emotions in his heart. Instead, he let them erupt completely. As for Long Houchen himself, he only felt their existence. The torment in his heart gradually faded with the passage of time and the continuous absorption of the light element. After an unknown amount of time, he finally entered a state of meditation. Yiting, who sat behind Long Houchen, felt the changes in Long Houchen the most. As a light elemental spirit, no one in this world could compare to her affinity with the light elements, because she herself could be said to be a form of expression of the light elements. When Long Houchen first started his cultivation, Yiting sensed that her master was only quietly absorbing the light elements. However, as he calmed down and truly entered a state of meditation, in Yiting's eyes, Long Houchen at this time had become completely transparent. With each long breath, it was as if he had entered the body of glorious light. The light elements that Yiting helped him attract began to be somewhat insufficient for him to absorb. It must be known that after fusing with the saint's spiritual stove, Yiting also had the ability to breed light elements. The light elements filtered by her were not only extremely pure, but also highly concentrated. Under these circumstances, Long Houchen could unexpectedly still absorb at such an astonishing speed. This was a speed where his internal spiritual force would increase with each breath. This was the advantage of being the God of Light's favored, maintaining a clear heart. Long Houchen, who had no impurities in his heart, was able to receive the Goddess of Light's greatest favor. The light element would take pride in entering his body, so how could his cultivation speed not be fast? In this warm light elements, Long Houchen gradually became immersed, and immersed very deeply, very deeply. He gradually put down all the burdens in his heart, and concentrated all of his mind on perceiving the light elements. The transparency of his body became more and more obvious, so much so that even Yang Houhen, who was observing him through the crystal ball, could gradually feel it. However, this Knight of the Seal of Defense and Coordination couldn't stay here and observe Long Houchen for a long time. The war was imminent, and he had many more things to deal with. This month, in the records of later generations, was known as the Holy Demon Continent's Blood Moon. The hatred that the demons and humans had accumulated for thousands of years finally broke out. With the 6 major strongholds as the main battlefield, the demons attacked, and the Temple League defended. It was said that from a bird's-eye view of the main battlefield, one could see a bloody mist rising to the sky. This was a war like a meat grinder. From the perspective of offense and defense, the demons' losses were far greater than the humans. However, the demons' army was also much larger than the humans. At the beginning of the war, the humans' defensive equipment played a great role, causing great damage to the demons. However, as the war went on, the defensive equipment gradually turned into ruins, and the humans could only rely on the terrain. This was a war between nations, and there was no need for any war mobilization. Every Temple League warrior who entered the battlefield used their blood to defend the last territory of the humans. Behind them was the plains, and behind them was their home. Knights Templars, Warriors Temple, Assassins Temple, Magic Temple, Temple of the Priests, and Soul Temple. No matter which temple the powerhouses were from, in this holy war, there was only one word in their minds: fight for their lives. Although the demons' attacks were fierce, the humans' will was too tenacious. The strength that the Temple League had accumulated for thousands of years was unleashed at this time. Large amounts of resources and reserve troops poured into the 6 impregnable passes, fighting to the death against the demons. While this holy war was related to the safety of the 2 races, as the initiator and also the fuse of this holy war, Long Houchen had been quietly cultivating in the treasure cave of the Knights Templars. Holy City, Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall. Fong Linger was looking at this month's financial report in her office. She had already begun to take over the various affairs of the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall. After the Holy War began, the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall entered a state of emergency. They only accepted various weapons, equipment, materials, herbs, and magic crystals, but all auctions were suspended. All the resources that the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall had accumulated were all provided to the Alliance unconditionally. This was the reason for the existence of the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall. As the heir of the auction hall, Fong Linger was clear that the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall did not belong to her family, but the entire Temple League. Using the auction hall to show the public was more to hide the strength of the alliance itself. When the Holy War began, the financial resources that the Sanctuary Alliance Auction Hall accumulated began to play a crucial role. The auction halls everywhere became the best provider of spiritual weapons and equipment. After a strict extraction process, all kinds of powerful equipment, magic crystals, and even heavy weapons such as magic crystal cannons that the auction hall accumulated were all transported to the front line. This was the wealth that had been accumulated for thousands of years. Even Fong Linger herself did not know how huge it was. This was because many of the warehouses of the auction halls were sealed in secret. The seal could only be unsealed when the demons started the war. Fong Linger rubbed her eyes tiredly. She leaned against the back of the chair. Her clear eyes were filled with deep worry. This time, could the Sanctuary Alliance withstand it? The arrival of the Devil race was truly too sudden. She heard that the Demon Emperor had actually asked for that person as a condition. He was his guild leader. Right now, weren't they at the heart of the struggle? Thinking about this, Fong Linger did not know why, but she felt her heart tighten. Vaguely, a tall figure appeared in her mind. Shiny bald head, simple and honest smile. What she could not forget the most was the satisfaction that he revealed when he looked at her. Is he still alive? Fong Linger shivered. She subconsciously clenched her fair and tender hands. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Come in. Fong Linger immediately suppressed her agitated emotions. She lowered her head and looked at the account book again. Miss Linger, your letter. A staff member of the auction hall pushed the door open and entered. He placed a letter on the table, bowed respectfully, and left. Letter? Fong Linger subconsciously picked up the letter. It was an exquisite scroll made of sheepskin. There was even a sealed magical imprint on it. If it was forcefully opened, the imprint would disappear and the letter would self-destruct. It could only be opened by a specific incantation. There was a small line of words on the scroll. It was also a reminder of the incantation for this type of letter. Ling had received a lot of these sheepskin letters, but when she saw the words written on the incantation, she was so excited that she stood up abruptly. "Call my name, little white flower." He. B** starred. It's that B** starred. Only he would call me here. Sima Xian, you B** starred. You're still alive. When she said the last few words, Feng Linger's tears flowed uncontrollably. In this era of war, being alive seemed to be the greatest happiness. Ding! The magical imprint on the sheepskin letter was activated and the scroll was quietly opened. Someone's handwriting was not flattering, but fortunately, it was still possible to see what was written. "Miss Linger, I'm sorry for calling you little white flower again. If you can read this letter, it means that you still remember my name. I, Sima, am deeply honored. Let me tell you a piece of good news and bad news. The good news is that I'm still alive and have returned to the Alliance. I'm at the southern pass where the main hall of the Temple of the Priests is located. The bad news is that I'm still at the front line, and our monster hunters have temporarily split up. As a new generation commandment priest, I have to protect our temple. I didn't want to write this letter at first. I reckon that even if you could read the contents, you wouldn't care about it. However, I'm glad that I was able to return alive from the demons. Every time I dream at night, I can't help but think of you. That's why I couldn't help but write this letter to you. Love at first sight is blissful, but it's also painful. I really want to see you again, but I don't know if I'll have the chance in this lifetime. People like me don't have any extravagant requests. Whether you like me or not doesn't matter to me at all. Take this letter as a farewell. I hope that you can live a happy life in the future. Even if I'm in the arms of God, I will still pray for you. Please don't worry. As a man who deeply loves you, I, Sima Xian, am not a coward. I will shed the last drop of my blood on the battlefield. Every time I fight with the demons, I remember that every time I kill a demon, you will be safer. My bald head is as strong as my light vigor pill. Staring blankly at the letter in her hand, Feng Linger didn't move for a long time. Her tears gradually stopped flowing. The special feelings hidden in her heart seemed to have taken root and sprouted. Suddenly, she grabbed a piece of parchment beside her. When she picked up a pen, she was shocked to find that her hand was trembling slightly. With great difficulty, she calmed her emotions and quickly wrote on the paper. "Bastard, you know that I don't want you to call me little white flower, but you still call me that. I hate you. I hate you, bald head. However, if you really dare to die at the front line, I will hate you forever. You have to get your ass back here alive. No matter how long it takes. Also, write me a letter. If I don't receive your next letter in 3 months, I will immediately marry someone. I won't let you rest in peace even after you die." In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. No one would have thought that the first to come out of seclusion was not Long Houchen, who was obviously much stronger, but Han Yu. In 3 months, Han Yu had learned all the rank 6 skills, including many secret skills. The Cave of Illusion was the real skill of the Knights Templars. In this Cave of Illusion, there were not only the regular skills, but also the secret skills left behind by the previous Knight of the Seal. Those who were able to enter this place were all talents who had made great contributions to the Knights Templars and were trained as the next generation of leaders of the temple. Long Houchen and Han Yu had this qualification. Other than Long Houchen's identity as a god's favored, they had also destroyed a demon god pillar of the demons, which was unprecedented in history. This achievement alone gave them this qualification. After Han Yu came out of seclusion and found out that Long Houchen was still in seclusion, he did not hesitate and immediately chose to go into seclusion to train. The condition that Yang Haohan gave him to enter the battlefield was to become a Mithril Foundation Knight. Although he had learned all the rank 6 skills, his spiritual energy was still far from 10,000. Yang Haohan did not know how many times he had come to observe Long Haochen, but now, his expression was no longer calm, but full of worry. It had been 3 months since the start of the Holy War. The dragon-resisting mountain pass was under great pressure. As a Knight of the Seal, whether it was him or Long Tianyin, they had already entered the battlefield. Just 2 days ago, he had a hard fight with the undead demon god Samakina. In terms of cultivation, Yang Haohan was a lot inferior, but by relying on the powerful power of the throne of God of protection and compassion, he was able to block the undead demon god, making it impossible for him to advance even an inch. The Holy Knight of the Knights Templars and the Temple Knight were fighting hard every day, resisting the enemy outside the dragon-resisting mountain pass. The ice and snow within a radius of 1,000 miles were dyed red. It was hard to calculate the number of casualties on both sides. Although the resources stored in the dragon-resisting mountain pass were very abundant, the dragon-resisting mountain pass was different from the other strongholds. Under the situation of being besieged by the demons, it was very difficult to get supplies from the Alliance, and even sending news out was very difficult. If this continued, Yang Haohan did not know how long this impregnable mountain pass could last. As for the demons outside, they had already sent reinforcements 3 times. The harsh environment also had a great impact on the demons, so much so that they could not fully display their fighting strength. The hundreds of ice magicians from the Magic Temple, who were stationed in the dragon-resisting mountain pass, also played a crucial role. They took advantage of the natural barrier of the dragon-resisting mountain pass and the ice and snow environment to constantly strengthen the defense of the dragon-resisting mountain pass and attack the enemy. Haochen, why haven't you made any movements? Looking at the huge crystal ball in front of him, Yang Haohan muttered to himself. That's right, after entering the Cave of Illusion, Long Haochen sat there and entered a state of cultivation. In the beginning, Yang Haohan even praised him for being able to calm down and cultivate. But 3 months had passed, and the current Long Haochen was still the same as 3 months ago. He always maintained the posture of sitting cross-legged and cultivating. His body emitted a faint golden halo, and his whole body entered the transparent feeling of the body of radiant light. Along with his breathing, the golden light emitted from his body would also flicker faintly. There was no doubt that he was fine. However, the time he spent meditating this time was a little too long. Yang Haohan, who had a wealth of experience in cultivation, knew that Long Haochen had entered a state of deep meditation. However, it was unheard of for a deep meditation to last for so long. Deep meditation generally appeared for experts of the 8th order and above. This was because after reaching the 8th order, the speed of spiritual energy improvement was much faster than before. But if one's spiritual energy improved too quickly, it would also cause one's foundation to be unstable. Often, deep meditation was needed to carry out cultivation. One reason was to better absorb the elements, and the other was to regulate one's body. Long Haochen was a god's chosen, so Yang Haohan did not find it strange that he was in deep meditation with a cultivation base of the 7th order. But, generally speaking, deep meditation would end in about a month, and it was extremely rare for someone like him to go for 3 months without any movement. Of course, the longer the time of deep meditation, the better the effect. It also meant that the mind would have fewer distracting thoughts, and could endure loneliness. After all, it was very lonely and boring to immerse in the light elements every day. What Yang Haohan did not expect was that 3 months was just the beginning for Long Haochen's deep meditation. Time passed day by day. Be it humans or demons, there was a limit to the number of casualties they could endure. After the first few months of frenzied attacks, the demons' attacks gradually slowed down. Demon Emperor had issued ultimatums to the Temple League twice, asking for Long Haochen. All of them were rejected by the Temple League. Moreover, Long Haochen seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth, and did not appear again. The war continued, and just as the Temple League hoped, after withstanding the powerful attacks of the demons, both sides gradually entered a protracted war. To the Temple League's surprise, as the supreme ruler of the demons and the strongest demons, Demon Emperor, did not participate in the war. Not only him, but even the Moon Demon and Star Demon who were with him did not appear on the battlefield. In other words, the defiant Demon Dragon Clan, Moon Demons, and Star Demons, the three most powerful races of the demons, were still waiting for an opportunity. It was precisely because they did not participate in the war that the Temple League did not dare to be careless, even though they dragged the war into a protracted war. The defense of the 6 major fortresses was very difficult. Everyone knew that once the Demon Emperor led the Moon Demons and Star Demons to the battlefield, none of the fortresses would be able to hold on. Of course, the Demon Emperor, Moon Demon, and Star Demon would also have to bear the full force of the strongest monster hunters of the humans to hunt and obstruct them. At that time, it would be the time of the final battle between the humans and the demons. According to the analysis of the Temple League's think tanks, the reason why the Demon Emperor did not bring the war to the final clash was mainly because he was afraid of the Temple League. After all, once the time came, it would be either succeed or die trying. Although the demons had the upper hand now, it was impossible for them to completely defeat the humans. Mutual destruction was the most likely scenario. There were also many mutual destruction situations. If it was a mutual destruction at the cost of the Demon Emperor's death, the demons would definitely not be able to afford it. After all, with the humans' creativity, construction ability, and the accumulation of the Temple League, they would definitely recover much faster than the demons. And a peerless powerhouse like the Demon Emperor could not recover in a day or two. A protracted war was not very advantageous for the demons, but the demons' toughness still exceeded the expectations of the Temple League. When the demons did not have enough food supplies, the corpses on the battlefield directly became their food. Whether it was the humans' corpses or the demons' own corpses, they could actually eat them all. The cruel reality had greatly reduced the humans' plan to defeat the demons. And a protracted war seemed to be what the Demon Emperor wanted to see. From the beginning of the Holy War to the end of the first year, the total population of the Temple League plummeted by 1/10, and the demons had an exaggerated decrease of 20%. Such a comparison was a huge blow to both races, and the entire continent was filled with carnage because of this holy war. Demon Emperor's main tent. Feng Xiu sat silently on the main seat. There was not even a single demon soldier in the tent. It was empty. There was only one person sitting on the main seat. It was the Moon Demon, Agars. Your Majesty, if this continues, I don't know how long we can hold on. There is a shortage of food. Due to the consumption of rotten food, non-combat casualties have begun to appear. When the weather warms up, this situation will definitely worsen, just like last summer. Agars's face showed some worry. Feng Xiu said calmly, "Second brother, what do you think we should do now?" Agars's handsome face showed a trace of coldness. A decisive battle. A decisive battle with the humans. They simply cannot stop the all-out attack of our 3 races. As long as we destroy one of the human strongholds, the army will march straight in, and the other aspects of the battle will definitely change. When that time comes, the humans will eventually perish, and we will be able to completely occupy the entire continent. Demon Emperor Feng Xiu shook his head. If I wanted to completely destroy the humans on this continent, I wouldn't have waited until now. Wouldn't it be better to have a decisive battle at the beginning of the Holy War? Agars looked at the Demon Emperor in confusion, clearly not understanding what he meant. Feng Xiu slowly stood up, hands behind his back, and looked at the entrance of the main tent. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the void, looking into another world. Actually, if we didn't give the humans time, the humans would have perished long ago. Perhaps when we demons first came to this world, we really didn't have the ability to destroy the humans. But as time passed, when the second demon emperor led the demons to occupy most of the holy demon continent, we already had the ability to launch a holy war against the humans and completely destroy them. However, my ancestor, the second demon emperor, didn't do so. He left behind a secret law, ordering his descendants, the successive demon emperors, not to lead the demon army to destroy the humans. Do you know why? There was no doubt that what Feng Xiu said was an absolute secret. Agars was dumbfounded by what he heard. Your Majesty, this subject is afraid. Agars hurriedly stood up and bowed respectfully. Feng Xiu slowly walked in front of him and helped him up. I am willing to tell you this secret because I have absolute trust in you. We can't destroy the humans because if we lose the humans, we demons will inevitably perish. We came to this world because we created the demons with the plague. In the beginning, there were only us 72 brothers. We have a huge innate disadvantage, and that is ourselves. You know very well where we came from and how we were born into this world. Although we can pass on our power, we can't create more. If we destroy all the humans in this world, or enslave them all, then, with the current situation of us demons, in the near future, the humans will disappear from this continent forever. Then, it will be the extinction of all races. In the end, only us demons will be left. But can we demons survive on our own? Chapter 166. Demonic God Huang Fengxiu's gaze turned somewhat melancholic. If there is really only us left. If we're really the only ones left, then there's no need for an enemy. We can destroy ourselves. In the end, us 72 brothers can only turn back into 72 demon god pillars, and this world will become a desert, just like the world we originally belonged to. Completely destroyed. Agars nodded silently. Yes, we can't create. We can't even use the things of this world to produce. In the face of our darkness attribute, it will be extremely difficult for any other creature to survive. You're right, if the humans are really destroyed or completely ruled by us, we will eventually walk towards extinction. Feng Xiu smiled slightly. It's good that you understand. That's why, as early as several thousand years ago, this Temple League was actually raised by us demons. We can't let them be destroyed, we even have to let them develop. Only in this way can we better support ourselves. War is only a means. Since they are raised by us, we can't let them become too powerful. At the same time, only with their help can we weaken the problem of our demons' numbers. It's in our best interest to maintain a balance. This is also one of the fundamental reasons why I launched this holy war. After several thousand years of recuperation, the accumulation of the humans is already too great. We must weaken them to a certain extent. Otherwise, it won't be many years before they blow the horn of counterattack. This is also something we can't see. Therefore, this holy war seems to be very advantageous for them in a protracted war, but isn't it the same for us? The decisive battle must be carried out, but not now. We need to plunder the humans' wealth, but we can't hurt their vitality. This is the degree of assurance. Agars frowned and said, But what about Austin and Griffin? What about them? Looking at the humans, they won't compromise with us. Demon Emperor's eyes flashed with a cold light. Austin and Griffin must be destroyed. No matter what price we have to pay, we can't let them survive in this world. Compared to our self-destruction, Austin and Griffin are even more terrifying existences. And Amari's death was a wake-up call for us. Another important reason for the holy war is because of it. Agars said, But will it be forced out by us? Unless we push the humans to the end of their tether. Feng Xiu shook her head and said, Not necessarily. Third brother has been in seclusion for a year. I have a premonition that he will come out today. He is the brain of us demons. He will tell us what to do next. Hearing this, the moon demon Agars was shocked. Big brother, you mean third brother? Feng Xiu nodded sadly. Yes, for the rise and fall of us demons, third brother has sacrificed too much. But this is the best choice. Big brother is right. This is our best choice. An orange-red silhouette condensed in the air, and the star demon god Vesak quietly appeared in front of the demon god Emperor and the moon demon god. He didn't look any different from before, but if you looked closely, you would find that his eyes were much dimmer than before. There was less depth, but more fatigue and age. Seeing him appear, the demon emperor couldn't help but become excited. He subconsciously took a few steps forward. "Third brother, how is your body?" Vesak smiled and shook his head. "I'm fine, big brother. It's just a little less lifespan. But this time, the great prophecy spell was worth it. Don't you want to hear the results?" Feng Xiu laughed bitterly. "If I had a choice, I really wouldn't want you to do this. Your lifespan is more than a little less. I can feel that your life force has weakened by at least 100 years. And you star demons don't have a long lifespan to begin with. This time, it's your origin that's been hurt." The moon demon Agars couldn't help but walk over and put his arm around Vesak's shoulder. Although he didn't say anything, his eyes showed strong emotions. In terms of feelings, the demon emperor, moon demon, and star demon were undoubtedly the most distant. But the demon emperor was the demon emperor after all. He was the ruler of the demons. If the survival of the demons was threatened, even if it was his own son, he wouldn't hesitate to make a move. Therefore, in private, the relationship between the moon demon and the star demon was further advanced. They were like brothers among the demons. Therefore, even though the demons of the undead demon god Samakina were already quite powerful and were not weaker than the star demons and the moon demons in terms of race strength, Samakina was still very respectful in front of Agars and Vesak. Vesak smiled and said, "All right, second brother, you don't have to be like this. I'll feel bad if you do this. The lost vitality can still be nurtured. Let me talk about the result first. It's very important for us." At this point, his expression became serious. Vaguely, one could see that his eyes gradually turned into a clear orange color. The demon god emperor nodded and looked at him with a face full of concern. Vesak said in a deep voice, "Over the past year, I've used the great prophecy to the greatest extent and finally predicted an opportunity in the future. According to Big Brother's plan, the war between us and the humans this time is mainly to use the middle and low-level troops of the demons to consume the accumulated power of the Temple League while preserving our high-end strength as much as possible. In this way, we will still have an overwhelming advantage over the humans. With my great prophecy, if this holy war continues to the end, then the outcome will be a lose-lose situation." Vesak pondered for a moment and continued, "The strength of the Temple League is stronger than we thought. Although we will win in the end, it will only be a Pyrrhic victory. This is something we absolutely don't want to see." The demon emperor nodded and said, "The strength of the Temple League is stronger than we expected? In what way is it strong?" Vesak said, "I can't predict this. I can only feel that there is also a very terrifying power hidden in the Temple League. We don't know where this power comes from, but I can be sure that it's not from those legend-rank monster hunters. The threat of legend-rank monster hunters is indeed not small, but their numbers are few, and that hidden terrifying power is faintly able to contend against our three races. However, unless it's a last resort, the humans shouldn't use this power." Hearing this, the demon emperor's expression suddenly became serious. "I didn't expect that the humans actually have such power. It seems that this holy war was launched very timely. The hidden power is the greatest threat. No matter what, through this holy war, we must force out this hidden power of the humans." Vesak shook his head and said, "That's not necessarily true. Big brother, you don't have to worry. Although this power of the humans is terrifying, it has an aura of decay. It seems that in a few years they will self-destruct, and this time should be within 20 years. In other words, if we don't force the humans to the point of life and death within 20 years, this terrifying power will not threaten us." Agars said in confusion, "Won't the humans take the initiative to use this power?" Vesak said, This is also what I find strange. In my great prophecy spell, the humans themselves seem to be very afraid of this power. It's even quite repulsive. That's why I can be sure that unless it's a crisis where the humans are on the verge of extinction, they won't easily use this power. This power is also not in the 6 great fortresses. If I'm not wrong, it should be in the humans' holy city. After listening to his words, the demon god emperor sank into a short silence. Very clearly, Vaysak's words had greatly affected him. For the demons, this is the ability to shake their dominance. It's not easy to make Vaysak say the word terrifying. Third brother, in that case, we should end this holy war earlier? The demon emperor asked. Star demon Vaysak shook his head. No, it's the opposite. We must continue this holy war. As long as we don't force the humans to a too difficult degree, it's fine. Maintaining the status quo is the best choice. Because this is the only way to lure Austin and Griffin out. At this point, his expression clearly became serious, much more serious than when he talked about the terrifying power controlled by the humans just now. In the past year, my great prophecy spell has been predicting Austin and Griffin for the longest time. It has now grown to a certain extent, although it's not enough to really threaten us, but it's definitely not weak. It's impossible for us to find it through the war against the humans, and Austin and Griffin's threat to us will also become more and more terrifying. We have a few chances to kill it. Among them, the biggest chance was in about 1 to 2 years. I can calculate that at that time, it will appear in our demon's territory. This was also the best chance he had. And the premise is that we must give the humans enough pressure through the holy war. Otherwise, it may not appear behind us. The demon emperor's eyes flickered with a demonic light, and a dense murderous intent was contained within. Even so, Vaysak and Agar still felt a powerful pressure being released from this big brother. Vaysak raised his hand and a circle of orange light enveloped the 3 demon gods. His lips moved as he spoke in a rapid, low voice. Only Feng Xiu and Agar's could hear his voice. Hearing his words, Feng Xiu's expression became more and more shocked. Third brother, this is too dangerous. You? Vaysak shook his head silently. Big brother, you should know how terrifying Austin and Griffin are. Since this is our biggest opportunity, then we must not let it go. And my method is also the best. If we face it head-on, it is very likely that it will find a loophole. As long as it avoids this time, then it is very likely that it will truly enter its ultimate state. At that time, whether it is us or this world, I'm afraid. Feng Xiu said in annoyance. It's all my fault, I didn't pay attention earlier. That bastard Andamari actually died in the hands of Austin and Griffin, and even caused the destruction of the demon god pillar. We can no longer form, Vaysak said, so we must treat this as our only chance to make arrangements. No matter the price, we can't give Austin and Griffin the slightest chance. The demon emperor nodded slowly and said, All right, we will act according to your plan. Only the 3 of us know about this. Even if it is Samakina and the others, we will keep it a secret. Vaysak, then go back and start making arrangements. 1 year, there is still 1 year left. On this side of the war, I will let the humans carefully feel my anger. Dragon Resisting Pass, Basilica of the Knights. Yang Haohan and Long Tianyin stood silently in front of the huge crystal ball. 1 year, an entire year had passed, yet Long Haochen was still in a state of deep meditation. If not for the spiritual energy fluctuations on his body becoming denser and denser, his breathing would be very normal. They would even think that Long Haochen had passed away in meditation. 1 year. That was a year's worth of meditation. In this 1 year, even Han Yu had successfully broken through to the 7th order. He had begun to enter the Cave of Illusion for the 2nd time to learn the 7th order skill. But Long Haochen was still in the same state as when he entered the cave, not getting up at all. Brother Long, should we go and see him? Yang Haohan said with some worry. Long Tianyin shook his head. No. Since his aura has not weakened, let's not disturb him. I believe this child knows his limits. Moreover, can't you feel it? The spiritual energy fluctuations on his body have already reached a saturated state. What he needs now is a breakthrough. Yang Haohan said, "Worry will cause confusion. This kid's ambition is higher than the heavens. He's probably trying to break through to the 8th order. I didn't expect him to use this kind of method to surprise us. At first, I thought old Qiu's evaluation of him was too high, but now it seems I was too conservative. If he really succeeds, then he will be our Temple League's first 8th Order Saint Knight before the age of 20. Long Tianyin said, "This child's state of mind is so pure, I also didn't expect it. I believe he will definitely succeed. However, the bottleneck from the 7th Order to the 8th Order is not so easy to break through. Not only does it require a lot of preparation, but it also requires a moment of enlightenment. Let him continue trying. If he can't break through in 3 months, we will have to wake him up. Otherwise, once he becomes irritable, it will affect his subsequent cultivation." Yang Haohan nodded silently. At this moment, suddenly, the body that had been sitting cross-legged for a year in the crystal ball trembled slightly. His trembling didn't matter, but the 2 Knight of the Seal almost instantly took a step forward, their eyes wide open. The trembling of Long Haochen's body became more and more obvious. Layers of gentle golden light spread out from his body, turning into layers of shock waves as his body trembled. Cultivation deviation? Long Tianyin was shocked. "No, it's not." Yang Haohan grabbed Long Tianyin, who was about to rush out. "I heard that Haochen created a skill called Light Ripple. It can produce a powerful attack and defense through the vibration of spiritual energy. He shouldn't be cultivating deviation." At this moment, the trembling of Long Haochen's body began to weaken. He slowly raised his arms, slowly stretching them. His whole body also stretched, seemingly becoming more slender. The gentle golden light supported him to float slowly, his legs straightened, and his whole body made a stretching movement. Suddenly, a thick golden light spread out from his body as if it was real. One could vaguely see a ball of light moving rhythmically between his eyebrows, chest, and lower abdomen. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, even Yang Haohan and Long Tianyin, who were Knight of the Seal, felt 2 cold lightning flashing in the air. A golden radiance that was more intense than the radiance emitted from Long Haochen's body burst out from his eyes. The almost tangible radiance swept across the air, causing the dreamy pale golden radiance in the illusion cave to surge violently. Yiting also stood up with Long Haochen. She also opened her eyes. Compared to Long Haochen, she didn't seem to have changed much, but her eyes were clearer and calmer. Moreover, her body also had a layer of life aura. Although Yiting's body was originally solid, if one touched it, one would find that her body was cold. Only when she used light attribute skills would her body warm up due to the fluctuation of light element. Moreover, the surface of her body gave people a stiff feeling. After all, she was condensed from dense light elements, and not a real body. However, at this moment, not only did the life aura on her body become denser, but her entire body also gave off a stronger sense of reality. As she moved, her skin seemed to be filled with elasticity. She was like a real human beauty. Even the Siddhi's aura was much less. Yiting opened her arms behind Long Haochen and made a hugging gesture. In the next moment, a golden light flashed, and she disappeared from Long Haochen's body, merging back into his body. Compared to a year ago, Long Haochen's body didn't change much. It was as if time had stopped for him during the year of deep meditation. There wasn't a single speck of dirt, and even his beard and hair didn't grow longer. Only his eyes were shining brightly. Yes, just as Yang Haohan had predicted, his cultivation had risen to the peak of the 7th rank, and his internal spiritual energy had reached 30,000. A year of deep meditation was a good preparation for Long Haochen. Not only did he purify his heart, but he also purified his spiritual energy. After reaching the peak of the 7th rank, he tried to break through several times, but he couldn't find a way to do so. Therefore, he didn't force himself anymore and let nature take its course, ending this year-long deep meditation. At this moment, although he was still standing in this dreamy cave, he had a feeling that his whole body was transparent. A light flashed, and a bottle of water appeared in his hand. He drank a few mouthfuls, letting the gentle water elements nourish his body. Then, Long Houchen stretched his body again, and the bones all over his body crackled. He seemed to have grown a bit taller. He didn't rush to the next step, and just stood there silently, as if lost in thought. After a long while, he slowly turned around and went into the depths of the cave. Watching Long Houchen disappear in the pale golden light, Long Tianyin and Yang Haohan couldn't help but turn their heads to look at each other. As they looked at each other, the two divine marked knights had a strange feeling about this. Is he going to learn a skill? Not going to break through? Long Tianyin was the first to speak. Yang Haohan said, "It's hard to say. I think he's looking for an opportunity for himself. Say, should we tell him the secret to breaking through to the 8th rank?" Long Tianyin said, "We should tell him. But, seeing him reach the peak of the 7th rank so quickly, we don't want to say it. From the peak of the 7th rank to the 8th rank, if he can complete it through his own understanding, then it will be very beneficial for him to break through to the 9th rank in the future. After all, these two bottlenecks have different paths leading to the same destination. We have to believe in him. Let him slowly settle down." Yang Haohan nodded silently, "And I also think this is the best. How long have I been cultivating?" While walking into the cave, Long Houchen said to himself. He just felt that his cultivation this time seemed to be very long. During this period, there were a few times when he wanted to end, but feeling the amazing speed of internal spiritual power increase, he finally endured the loneliness. The 3 spiritual apertures in his body were completely filled with spiritual power, and his whole body was full of power. How can I break through from the 7th rank to the 8th rank? While walking into the cave, Long Houchen pondered this most important question. Perhaps because he sat for too long, his whole body felt a little sore and itchy, and his blood was circulating quickly under the urging of spiritual power. Suddenly, the scenery in front of him changed, and a large door appeared in front of him. There was a simple and unadorned 7 on the door. Long Houchen stopped and looked at the strong and elegant 7, thinking that he couldn't directly break through to the 7th rank this time. It should be because he didn't accumulate enough spiritual power. My spiritual power is already sufficient, so I'll look for inspiration from my skills. Maybe I can gain something. He raised his hand and pressed on the door, but it was very sturdy and didn't budge. Gentle light elements surged, and Long Houchen's body almost instantly turned into a transparent golden crystal. For him, using the glorious body of light didn't need to worry about excessive consumption. The physique of a god-favored allowed him to have certain characteristics of the glorious body of light, and now he had completely cultivated the glorious body of light. As long as he used his spiritual power normally, the amplification of the glorious body of light would immediately appear, but it wouldn't consume any additional spiritual power. The stronger the cultivation, the greater the amplification of the talent. With a low muffled sound, the heavy door slowly opened. When the door opened, Long Houchen only felt an incomparably fierce thought rushing out of the door. Taking half a step back, Long Houchen put his hands in front of him and made a defensive posture. His movements were slow and steady, as if they were formed naturally under the impact of the fierce thought. The moment his movements stabilized, a strong golden light lit up. Divine Defense Block. Unfortunately, Yang Haohan's crystal ball couldn't monitor the situation inside the cave, otherwise he would be surprised to find that Long Houchen was using the spiritual level Divine Defense Block. After a year of deep meditation, it wasn't just the internal spiritual power that had been improved. His body had been cleansed by the spiritual power, and his external spiritual power had also improved greatly. It could be said that after a year of accumulation, Long Houchen had thoroughly integrated the combat experience, training process, and all kinds of fortuitous encounters from the past few years. Compared to a year ago, other than the increase in his spiritual power, his abilities in all aspects were also much more stable. The fierce aura released from the door didn't last for too long before it dissipated. A trace of sincere respect appeared on Long Houchen's face. Without a doubt, this door recorded the rank 7 skills of the night. The ancestors of the Knights Templars had only left their skills here, but they still seemed to have a life of their own. The skills were dead, but the crystallization of their blood and sweat would forever live in the heart of every knight. After stepping through the door, it was a hall of about 10 square meters. There was a door on both sides. The door on the left had the mark of a shield, while the door on the right had the mark of 2 swords. They represented the skills of the Guardian Knight and the skills of the Knight of Punishment. After thinking for a while, Long Houchen walked to the door with the shield printed on it, pushed the door open, and entered. Suddenly, a thick and solid aura enveloped him. Southeast Fortress. Boom! A bright silver light blasted into the sky, blasting the body of a 2-headed demon vulture into pieces. A huge shield swept across the top of the wall, blasting a group of dual-bladed demons that had just climbed up to the top of the wall into pieces. Wang Yuan, who was wearing the Space Guardian armor, stood proudly on the top of the wall. The bright silver armor was stained with blood, so much so that it was impossible to tell what color it was. The silver light that had just risen into the sky was the Skysplitter cannon fired by her giant soul divine shield. Wasn't the sweeping attack the spinning shield Skysplitter? At this moment, she had 1 foot on the battlements, and in her left hand, a 2-meter-long sawtooth machete was swung out crazily. Every time the machete chopped down, it would definitely kill a demon that rushed up the city wall. She single-handedly protected a section of the wall that was as wide as 20 meters. Not to mention the enemy, even the male warriors of the warrior temple didn't dare to approach Wang Yuan's area of protection. The sawtooth machete in Wang Yuan's left hand was 2 meters long, and the hilt was more than 2 feet long. Although she was only wielding it with one hand, she was able to display the power of a 2-handed heavy sword. The sawtooth machete was bright silver. Not only was the back of the machete serrated, but the blade was also serrated. With a flash of silver light, one could definitely hear the sound of the serrated teeth cutting through bone. Although the size of the sawtooth machete was large, its attack speed was extremely fast. It was as if she was controlling a silver bolt of lightning that flew up and down. That's right. The machete in Wang Yuan's hand was made from the materials that they had obtained in the Dark Swamp. After Lin Xian returned to the Magic Temple, he asked a master alchemist to use the serrated horns of 7 sawtooth rays to forge the machete for Wang Yuan. It was a weapon at the peak of the legendary grade, only 1 step away from becoming a terrifying weapon of the epic grade. The master alchemist who forged the machete exclaimed that it was a bloody blade. Its cutting power was so terrifying that it could almost break through most defensive spells below the 8th grade. It came with 3 skills: Bloody Rend, Bloody Saw Dance, and Dimensional Storm. In the end, it was named Bloody Storm. Bloody Rend was a skill that was directly attached to Bloody Storm. The serrated teeth on both sides had a terrifying cutting effect. Its cutting power was so strong that it was even sharper than that of Long Houchen's aria of the Goddess of Light in his normal state. Moreover, one must not forget that Wang Yuan had also comprehended the ripple of light created by Long Houchen. The cutting power produced by Bloody Rend coupled with the ripple of light could only be understood by those who had truly experienced it. Just 2 days ago, an 8th-tier devilish being had clashed head-on with Wang Yuan, and even though he had managed to send Wang Yuan flying, one of his arms had also been severed by Wang Yuan. Powerful external spiritual energy could not protect him at all. The two skills, Bloody Saw Dance and Dimensional Storm, required the infusion of spiritual energy to activate, which consumed quite a lot of spiritual energy. But the power was also proportional to the consumption. It was extremely terrifying. The Bloody Sawtooth Dance transformed into 7 bloody storms in an instant, each with the same power. After all, this terrifying weapon was made from the horns of 7 sawtooth rays. Their souls could be vaguely seen in them. Dimensional Storm was the most powerful skill of this weapon. It consumed 2,000 internal spiritual energy to use each time. When used, a small dimensional rend would appear between all the serrated teeth. When wielded, the power of Bloody Rend would soar. At least so far, when Wang Yuanyuan used this skill, she had not encountered a weapon or skill that could block it. Even if a rank 8 powerhouse poured all their spiritual energy into the weapon, the result would be the same. In addition to these 3 skills, because Bloody Storm was made from saw rays, and saw rays had dual attributes of wind and space, its attack speed was also extremely fast. In terms of power, it had completely surpassed the giant Soul God shield with 4 empty silver crystals. Therefore, most of the time, Wang Yuanyuan had used the giant Soul God shield as a shield, and the main lethality was achieved through Bloody Storm. It had been a year since she returned to the southeast fort. From the day Wang Yuanyuan returned, she took the initiative to go to the top of the city wall. In the beginning, her role in the war was not very obvious, but when she received the Bloody Storm from Lin Xin, she gradually became a beautiful scenery on the top of the southeast fort. She had a slender figure, a cold and elegant appearance, and a terrifying giant shield and serrated broadsword. Who knew how many demons died in her hands every day? Because of this, Wang Yuanyuan was nicknamed the Bloody Killer Woman. At the same time, she also accumulated military merits and became a division commander of the Temple League. The military ranks of the Temple League, from the lowest to the highest, were squad leaders who commanded 20 people, company leaders who commanded 100 people, company leaders who commanded 500 people, battalion commanders who commanded 1,500 people, division commanders who commanded 3 battalions, and corps commanders who commanded 3 divisions. Above them were the military chiefs of the various temple armies, as well as the commanders of the 3 armies. To be able to rise to the rank of corps commander purely by killing enemies, one could imagine how many demons Wang Yuanyuan had killed. She had long since lost count. In any case, whenever she stepped on the top of the fort, her eyes would naturally turn red. Then, it would be a frenzied massacre. In this year, she had been heavily injured 3 times, and each time, she had to return to the battlefield before she had fully recovered. The military chiefs of the southeast fort had wanted to assign her to a military position and command the troops, but she had rejected every single one of them. She wanted to be a soldier who stood at the front lines, even if she was a division commander. Roar! A rank 5 dark green twin-bladed demon brazenly leaped onto the top of the fort and roared at Wang Yuanyuan. Bang! The divine soul shield spun once before falling back into Wang Yuanyuan's hands. Against that dark green twin-bladed demon, Wang Yuanyuan only made the simplest of movements. Chop! Chain-like silver light burst forth from Sanguinary Storm. With an ear-piercing tearing sound, the air was split apart. Under the strange black-silver light blade formed by the tearing black and silver edges, the previously arrogant dual dark green-bladed demon was torn to shreds in the next moment. Dimensional Slash, a rank 6 spatial warrior skill. Through Sanguine Storm, its power was at least doubled. Suddenly, Wang Yuanyuan, who was in the middle of killing to her heart's content, froze for a moment and looked into the distance. A black dot was rapidly enlarging in her line of sight. Yuanyuan, be careful! A shout rang out, and then a tall figure flashing with dazzling golden light rushed to Wang Yuanyuan's side. A thick tower shield fell heavily to the ground. The black dot flying from afar grew larger at an alarming speed. When it reached the top of the fort, its size had already become extremely terrifying. It was a powerful bear demon. This was a method of siege that the demons had thought of. They used primitive giant catapults to throw powerful troops directly onto the top of the fort. If this method of attack had been used a year ago, it would have been like a mouse licking a cat's ass. A magician would have been able to blast it down with a simple spell. But as the war went on, the Temple League's magicians had always been prioritized. As a result, apart from the Temple of Magic, the number of magicians guarding the other temple's forts was pitifully low. Boom! The bear demon's body slammed heavily onto the tower's shield. The knight holding the tower's shield let out a muffled groan, and his body was sent flying by the impact. Blood flowed from his mouth and nose. The bear demon's strength was indeed terrifying. Moreover, the one that was thrown onto the top of the fort was a 7th-grade bear demon. With its tyrannical defense, once it stood firm on the top of the fort, there would be more demons rushing to the top of the fort, causing great damage to the southeast fort. Wasn't it Zhang Fangfang who blocked the bear demon's attack for Wang Yuanyuan? When the Holy War began, all monster hunters entered a state of war and joined the battlefield. After a year of fierce battle, Zhang Fangfang's monster hunters were now no more. Out of the 6 of them, only he and the assassin survived. The others all died in the southeast fort. Zhang Fangfang's encounter with Wang Yuanyuan once again could be said to be a pleasant surprise. His companions had died one after another, and he had also been heavily injured several times. Only by relying on the Second Life spiritual stove that he had fused in the illusory paradise did he manage to survive time and time again. Chapter 167. Thus, he had now become Wang Yuanyuan's guardian. It could be said that without Zhang Fangfang's protection at all costs, Wang Yuanyuan would have perished on the city wall long ago. After all, her lethality was too great. How could she not become the target of the bear demons? Kill! Wang Yuanyuan's eyes turned blood-red as she charged at the bear demons who had yet to stabilize their footing. A faint layer of blood-red light could be vaguely seen around Wang Yuanyuan's body. The incomparably sharp, murderous intent was filled with an indescribable wildness. Bang! With a muffled sound, the rank 7 bear demons were actually knocked back by the peak rank 6 Wang Yuanyuan's divine soul shield. Then, it was time for Wang Yuanyuan to put on an extremely powerful performance. The divine soul shield suddenly paused, and an intense silver light burst out in an instant. The sky-splitter cannon directly bombarded the thick chest of the rank 7 bear demons, interrupting the shockwave they were about to send out. Stepping forward, Sanguine Storm slashed out brazenly. 7 silver shadows mixed with the wild murderous intent bursting from Wang Yuanyuan's body swept towards the bear demons with blood energy and silver light. Under the suppression of Wang Yuanyuan's terrifying murderous intent, the extremely powerful bear demons could only use their arms to protect their head and face, taking her attack head-on. The terrifying cutting power of Sanguine Storm was undoubtedly evident. Under the wild swing of the blood saws, the flesh and blood of the bear demons splattered everywhere. In the midst of their tragic roars, a pair of thick arms revealed the white bones inside. Kill! Wang Yuanyuan did not care about the blood splashing on her body. She roared again and raised Sanguine Storm high. A layer of dark light instantly spread on each of the saws, and a dimensional storm burst forth. Crack! The arms of the bear demons were severed, and the terrifying slash directly cut into the hardest part of their body, the skull. After all, the bear demons were Type 7 overlords. Before they died, their huge bodies charged towards Wang Yuanyuan. It crashed right into her divine giant soul shield. Wang Yuanyuan was not afraid in the slightest. The red glow in her eyes became even more intense. The moment the bear demon's incomparably strong body collided with the divine spirit shield, she suddenly stomped her right foot on the ground. The surrounding human warriors could clearly see that right now, Wang Yuanyuan was like a diamond that was suddenly illuminated by a strong light. The silver light was flashing at an astonishing speed. Sanguine Storm was raised high, and a tornado-like silver light suddenly burst out from her body. Unexpectedly, the body of the bear demons was hit and thrown directly into the sky. The bear demons, who had already been cut into pieces by the bloody storm, turned into countless pieces in the air under the baptism of the silver tornado. Blood rained down from the sky, but it was completely shaken off. This scene could no longer be described as simply shocking. Not to mention the demons, even the human warriors of the Temple League could not help but feel a strong sense of fear. One must know that Wang Yuanyuan was currently only a Pinnacle Type 6 Overlord. She had not broken through to the Type 7 Overlord. Yet the explosive power of her attack could actually reach such a shocking level. The silver light lasted for a full 3 seconds before gradually dissipating. Wang Yuanyuan was already on one knee on the ground, gasping for breath. Be it Sanguine Storm or the Divine Giant Soul Shield, the light had dimmed. Her body was still surrounded by that thick red murderous intent, but her face was somewhat sickly pale. The golden figure stood in front of her. Although the demons who had rushed up the city wall were greatly deterred from charging towards Wang Yuanyuan, the powerful knight still blocked any possible attack for her. At the same time, a soft white light was emitted from his hand and fell on Wang Yuanyuan's body. Zhang Fangfang's expression was very ugly. It was not because of the impact of the bear demons, but because of the heartache. Only he knew what kind of price Wang Yuanyuan had to pay when she launched that attack just now. That attack just now was Wang Yuanyuan's self-created skill, called Spirit Explosion Silver Tornado. Its power could no longer be described by a simple grade. It was simply a desperate skill. It was something that Wang Yuanyuan had comprehended on her own during her endless slaughter. Zhang Fangfang once asked Wang Yuanyuan why she worked so hard. Wang Yuanyuan's answer was very simple. She said to Zhang Fangfang, "My companions are all more talented than me. If I don't put in more effort than them, then I will fall behind. When the team is reorganized, I want to become a useful person for the team. I can't let the team leader bear such a huge pressure alone." Long Haochen was not the only one who was affected by Kai Er's amnesia. As a member of the General Tier Monster Hunt 64, as the enemies she encountered became stronger, Wang Yuanyuan felt more and more useless. In terms of talent, it could be said that she was the worst in the team. In terms of attack power, she was not as good as Sima Xian. In terms of defense, there was no need to mention, and she had no support ability. As a warrior, what could she do? Her role in the team was becoming less and less. When the Temple League ordered their team to temporarily separate, Wang Yuanyuan felt a strong sense of powerlessness for the first time. The feeling of not being able to control one's own fate was too painful. The team disbanded, and they did not know if they could regroup in the future. Why? Because everyone was still not strong enough. Therefore, after returning to the warrior temple, back to the southeast fortress that was facing the holy war, Wang Yuanyuan had already made up her mind to become stronger no matter what. If she was not talented enough, she would use hard work to make up for it. Therefore, she stood at the top of the city wall, always at the front line. As a girl, a female warrior, she used a more bloody method than the male warriors to increase her strength. Wang Yuanyuan deeply remembered that Long Haochen once said that as a profession, the easiest way to increase one's strength was to push oneself to the limit. Every time one challenged the limit, it would definitely be a great impetus for one's own improvement. She was searching for her limit in the midst of killing. Every time she was exhausted, every time she fought until the last moment, when she successfully survived, she realized that her cultivation and skills were improving at an alarming rate. Although this method of improvement would always put her at the edge of life and death, she gritted her teeth and endured it. If not for this, how could she increase her internal spiritual energy from more than 6,000 to the peak of the 6th rank in just a year? Crazy killing intent and powerful weapons finally pushed Wang Yuanyuan to create her first skill, a bloody and incomparably powerful skill. Spirit Explosion Silver Tornado. To use this skill, one first had to trigger the dimensional storm ability of the bloody storm, then force the spiritual energy out of the body, and explode the spatial spiritual energy with a bloody killing intent. Thus, an extremely terrifying explosive power would be produced. At that moment, the explosive power would completely exceed Wang Yuanyuan's own strength. Similarly, she also had to bear the backlash brought about by this explosive power. After continuous experiments and continuous improvement, she succeeded. Although the Spirit Explosion Silver Tornado borrowed the power of the Bloody Storm, it was still a powerful skill created by Wang Yuanyuan. Once it was used, as long as one entered a radius of 3 meters around her body, they would immediately suffer the most direct and terrifying attack. Unless the enemy's strength could crush her and completely shatter her body and weapons, the Spirit Explosion Silver Tornado would definitely bring a fatal blow to the enemy. With such a tyrannical body of the bear demons, although they had lost the support of spiritual energy, it was quite incredible that they were directly turned into minced meat by such a skill. Even a rank 8 powerhouse wouldn't dare to say that they could do it. Those were rank 7 bear demons. Qiu Yonghao, the master of the warrior temple, had personally come to persuade Wang Yuanyuan. Wang Yuanyuan's grandfather was the previous generation's master of the warrior temple, who passed on his position to Qiu Yonghao. He died in a battle with the demon god of hell, Marbus. Before his death, the position was passed on to Qiu Yonghao, the former attendant of the bright sword god Yi Wushang. As the inheritor of the mighty spirit god's bloodline, Wang Yuanyuan was the only direct descendant left, and Qiu Yonghao didn't want anything to happen to her. However, Wang Yuanyuan had always insisted on fighting on the front line. She told Qiu Yonghao that there was no weak descendant of the mighty spirit god's bloodline, even if she was just a woman. In desperation, Qiu Yonghao could only send people to take care of her as much as possible. Once Wang Yuanyuan was injured, there would be the best priest to heal her. Persistence paid off. The power of Wang Yuanyuan's bloodline was constantly stimulated by her, and the tyrannical murderous aura merged with the power of the bloodline, producing a layer of pale red light around her body that could greatly increase her attack power. With a flash of golden light, Zhang Fangfang had another clone of himself next to him. It was his second life spiritual stove clone. He directly passed the heavy sword and shield in his hands to the clone, and under the control of his mind, the clone immediately took his position and guarded the battlement in front of Wang Yuanyuan. Zhang Fangfang quickly turned around and went to Wang Yuanyuan's side, helping her up and to the back. This time, Wang Yuanyuan didn't force herself to stay. She still hadn't completely mastered the Spirit Explosion Silver Tornado, and almost every time after a spirit explosion, she would suffer serious injuries. Recently, after receiving the Forest Boa King's inner core and the snake gall that Lin Xian had sent over, she had continuously taken the Forest Boa body forging pill. Her external spiritual power had greatly increased, and only then did she gradually get better. But to say that she could completely withstand the damage of the spirit explosion, at least for now, she still couldn't do it. Can you not risk your life like this? Do you know how much my heart aches? Zhang Fangfang frowned, and his gaze was filled with worry as he stared at her. Under his gaze, the bloodlust in Wang Yuanyuan's eyes gradually faded, and there was even a hint of gentleness in them. Thank you, Brother Fang. Zhang Fangfang was stunned. For the past year, he and Wang Yuanyuan had risked their lives in this sacred war, and Wang Yuanyuan had almost completely immersed herself in killing. This was the first time she had said words of gratitude to him. At this moment, he only felt his whole body tremble, and suppressed emotions surged out. He couldn't help but pull her into his arms. He only felt that even if he died in the next moment, it would be worth it. Wang Yuanyuan didn't resist, and let him hug her as she slowly closed her eyes. Only she knew how much help Zhang Fangfang had given her. What Zhang Fangfang saved wasn't just her life, but also her heart. Immersed in killing, even a male warrior could easily lose himself, let alone a female warrior whose willpower wasn't as strong as a male warrior's. Every time Wang Yuanyuan gradually lost herself in the killing, and when there was only violence left in her heart, she could see Zhang Fangfang risking his life for her. It was precisely because of Zhang Fangfang's existence that she was able to maintain a trace of gentleness in her heart, and she was able to protect her true self and not truly lose herself. Brother Fang, I don't know how to repay you for what you've done for me. If you're willing and you don't mind the thick stench of blood on my body, when this sacred war is over, you can have me. Wang Yuanyuan's words were like an earth-shattering shock in Zhang Fangfang's ears. He stared at Wang Yuanyuan in a daze, and for a moment, he was so overwhelmed that he couldn't speak. She wants me to have her? Yuanyuan. Zhang Fangfang couldn't help but hug her a little tighter. But, I can't marry you. Wang Yuanyuan's next words immediately pulled Zhang Fangfang down from the top, and threw him hard onto the ground. Wang Yuanyuan raised her hand and gently stroked his stubbled face. I'm sorry, Brother Fang. Ever since I could remember, I swore that in this life, as long as the demons don't vanquish, I will never marry. I belong to my team, and I will fight against the demons with leader and the others to the end. The only thing I can give you is my body. No, Yuanyuan. If you marry me, I can also fight with you. What's more, your team has already been disbanded, Zhang Fangfang said anxiously. Wang Yuanyuan shook her head. It's different. If I marry you, I will have something in my heart. I like you, but I don't dare to love you. I only have hatred towards the demons. I'm sorry. Zhang Fangfang looked at her blankly, and looked at Wang Yuanyuan, whose eyes were already overflowing with tears. There was no hatred in his heart, only a suffocating pity. Wanshou Pass. It was located in the south of the Temple League, between the southeast stronghold and the southern pass, and also the headquarters of the Soul Temple. Odin Town, where Long Haochen lived as a child, was very close to Wanshou Pass. It had been a year since the start of the Sacred War. Among the 6 temples, the Soul Temple's Wanshou Pass had suffered the least losses. By relying on the beast tide, they had repelled the demons' attacks time and time again. They could even take care of the southern pass temple of the priests, which had the most difficulty fending off the demons. In the depths of the Soul Temple, in a hexagonal room completely surrounded by milky white light, a beautiful girl was sitting cross-legged. The room was very strange. On the floor of the room, there were strange patterns that spread outward. The most amazing thing was that there were extremely fine micro-carvings in between the patterns. If one looked closely, they would discover that each micro-carving was a type of magical beast. In this room that was less than 100 square meters, there were countless micro-carvings of magical beasts on the floor. The reason why the patterns were so beautiful was that these micro-carvings were embedded with the crystal cores of magical beasts. These crystal cores covered the entire room, like a gemstone carpet. The gentle white light surged in the air, and slowly rotated around the girl in the center. As it rotated, one could vaguely see a door of light within the white light. The girl's expression was solemn, but also strangely sacred. She was wearing a white robe. The patterns on the robe were exactly the same as the ones on the floor, with countless silver threads embroidered in the shape of magical beasts. However, there were not many gemstones embedded. This was in comparison to the large number of crystal cores on the floor. There were also 7 rows of gemstones on the girl's robe. These gemstones were colorless and transparent. Some of them hung down from her back, 2 of them slid down her collar, and some were around her waist. The 7 rows of transparent gemstones emitted a strange transparent wave under the illumination of the dense light in the room. If the higher-ups of the Soul Temple were here, they would definitely exclaim in shock, because the robe on the girl was too important to the Soul Temple. It was like the throne of God to the Knights Templars. The Soul Saint garment was a true artifact that had been passed down in the Soul Temple for thousands of years. The origin of this artifact was the crystallization of the painstaking efforts of the powerhouses of the Soul Temple. There were a total of 108 elixirs embedded on the Soul Saint garment. The Soul Temple had spent 5,000 years accumulating them and had only successfully refined them 1,000 years ago. This was a true artifact and the only artifact in the Soul Temple. It was made from the bones of 1,080 different magical beasts, then soaked in a special kind of metal to soften it and toughen it to the extreme. Then, it absorbed the souls of those 1,080 magical beasts to form threads and weave them into this long robe. The elixirs embedded on the robe were special items that could only be produced by the summoners of the Soul Temple. A summoner would always only have one spiritual aperture. Unlike other professions, they could increase the number of spiritual apertures by continuously increasing their spiritual power to achieve the effect of increasing their strength. Having only one spiritual aperture made it much more difficult for them to practice compared to other professions. After countless summoners' research, they finally found another way to practice and created a special cultivation method. That was the method of forming spiritual power elixirs. Through this method, one could gradually solidify spiritual power and store it in one's body. Not only could it be used to wash one's face, but it could also continuously increase one's total spiritual power to achieve the purpose of improving one's cultivation. When the elixir was first formed, it was as soft as cotton. As one's cultivation continued to improve, it would become harder and harder. In the end, it would become an existence like a gem. To reach this level and make the elixir leave the body without being destroyed, one needed to have at least a rank 9 cultivation. After a rank 9 summoner passed away, their elixirs would be left behind like the magic crystals of the demons. In other words, the girl's Soul Saint garment was inlaid with 108 elixirs of the Soul Temple's rank 9 ancestors. Not to mention the demons, even the other 5 temples of the 6 temples didn't know about the existence of the Soul Saint garment. This artifact had never been seen since it was made. The reason was simple. No one could control it. The power of the 108 elixirs left by the Soul Temple's rank 9 masters was terrifying. Although the spiritual power had been merged with the souls of the 1,080 magical beasts through the robe and softened a lot, the total amount was terrifying. The level of the spiritual power was so high that even a rank 9 master couldn't control it. For thousands of years, the senior members of the Soul Temple had tried many methods, but they couldn't activate the Soul Saint garment. Therefore, this artifact had always been hidden in the deepest part of the Soul Temple. Only the Temple Master and Deputy Temple Master knew of its existence. This situation did not improve until more than 20 years ago. After thousands of years of research in the Soul Temple, they found that in order to activate the Soul Saint garment, one needed not only the strength of the spiritual power, but also the compatibility. Only those who could have a very close feeling with the magical beasts could get a trace of the Soul Saint garment's favor. 300 years ago, there was a powerful person in the Soul Temple who had an innate internal spiritual power of 81. When he became the Temple Master of the Soul Temple, he worshipped the Soul Saint garment and got a response. At that time, the Soul Saint garment emitted a weak light and a very friendly aura. The Temple Master tried wearing the Soul Saint garment and finally succeeded. However, after the experiment, he found that he could not use more than 30% of the Soul Saint garment's power. In other words, the compatibility between him and the Soul Saint garment was still not enough. But even so, the power that the Soul Saint garment could release was far beyond that of epic equipment. After serious consideration, the Temple Master resisted the impulse in his heart and put the Soul Saint garment back into the temple. He didn't really wear it. From then on, the Soul Temple had an additional rule. Summoners above rank 6 must come to the temple to worship the Soul Saint garment. Of course, the Soul Saint garment was hidden in a statue of the god of beasts. Using this method to find a summoner with a higher compatibility with the Soul Saint garment was a helpless move. But it turned out that this method was effective. In the next 300 years, There were a total of more than 10 summoners who were compatible with the Soul Saint garment. Without exception, they were all people with innate internal spiritual power. Unfortunately, in the end, no one was able to wear the Soul Saint garment. 20 years ago, when a female summoner was worshipping the Soul Saint garment, a miraculous situation occurred. The Soul Saint garment unexpectedly emitted an unprecedented bright light. Immediately, that female summoner was shocked. She was immediately kept in the Soul Temple by the Temple Master and Deputy Temple Master in the temple. And this female summoner had an unusual relationship with the Temple Masters and Deputy Temple Masters. She was the daughter-in-law of the current Soul Temple Master, Chun Hongba, and the Soul Temple's Deputy Temple Master and Spirit Fantasy Hall's Hall Master, San Shui Popo. When Chun Hongba discovered that his daughter-in-law could activate the Soul Saint garment to such a degree, there was no need to mention his pleasant surprise. He and his wife, San Shui Popo, immediately took out the Soul Saint garment for their daughter-in-law to try. However, their just excited mood quickly sank to the bottom. Because, although the Soul Saint garment was worn, their daughter-in-law was unable to activate a trace of the Soul Saint garment's power. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. After several fruitless attempts, Chun Hongba and San Shui Popo couldn't help but be greatly disappointed. But at this time, they found out that their daughter-in-law was unexpectedly pregnant. Therefore, after Temple Master Chun Hongba and San Shui Popo discussed in detail, they came up with a bold plan. The one who could sense the Soul Saint garment wasn't their daughter-in-law, but the child in her belly, which was their grandson. With this conjecture, their daughter-in-law was left in a secret room in the Soul Temple's main hall. The Soul Saint garment directly became her clothing until the day the child was born. After 10 months of pregnancy, the child was finally born. When the child was born, the situation was extremely exciting. On the day the child was born, the Soul Saint garment once again burst out with that kind of intense and resplendent radiance. It automatically detached from their daughter-in-law's body and wrapped around the baby girl. She was the summoner in the current Commander-level Monster Hunt 64, Chun Ing. This matter also became the Soul Temple's biggest secret. Only Chun Hongba, San Shui Popo and his wife, and Chun Ing-er's parents knew. Chun Ing-er's growth was closely monitored. This was also the reason why she later had a rebellious personality. Just as the Soul Temple's predecessors predicted, the owner of the Soul Saint garment needed an extremely high innate internal spiritual power. Chun Ing-er's innate internal spiritual power surpassed the 90 mark, and she became the Soul Temple's first Soul Saintess. However, following Chun Ing-er's growth, her body's problems also began to appear. She could cultivate, and her spiritual power increased at an astonishing speed, but she was unable to use any summoning magic. Not even the lowest rank. This made Chun Hongba and San Shui Popo anxious. After countless judgments, considerations, and attempts, they finally confirmed the strange fact that Chun Ing-er's body produced a seal. This seal directly came from her innate skill. External forces simply couldn't break it. The strength of the seal probably required Chun Ing-er's cultivation to be around rank 7 in order to break it. However, she was the Soul Saintess after all. She unexpectedly had an innate skill, and that was the Living Soul Gate. Unfortunately, her cultivation wasn't enough, and she couldn't truly display the Living Soul Gate's power. Thus, she later became the most unreliable summoner in Long Haochen's team. Time passed, and Chun Ing-er, who had obtained sufficient training in monster hunters, had already grown up. She was no longer the rebellious and ignorant girl from before. Unceasingly fighting with the demons, unceasingly improving her cultivation, and seeing her companions improve, the impetuousness in her heart gradually disappeared. What replaced it was a thirst for power. Even if the General Class Monster Hunt 64 hadn't been disbanded, she should have returned to the Soul Temple, broken the seal that had bound her for 20 years, and become the true Soul Saintess. Gentle milky white spiritual power pulsed in this strange room. This secret room was originally used by the Soul Temple's temple master. It was of great help to increase one's cultivation. Since the day Chen Ying returned, this place had become her territory. After releasing all of her impetuousness, she calmed her mind and entered into deep meditation. When Chen Ying began to meditate, she had the same thought as Wang Yuan. I want to become a useful person to the team, and I want to help the team leader. Jialing Pass, Magic Temple. His long dark green hair was draped over his shoulders. Although it hadn't grown to its original length, it could at least reach his vest. Lin Xian looked a little disheveled at the moment. His long hair, which he had always valued the most, was a little messy. Stubble had climbed up to his face, and his face looked a little thin. However, his eyes were exceptionally bright, and his gaze was focused, giving off an indescribable feeling. Over the past year, it could be said that he had been extremely busy every day. From the day he returned to the Magic Temple, he had asked his grandfather for a secret room to develop a large number of resources brought back from the demons in the Commander-level Monster Hunt 64. During this period, he had sold a large number of materials to the Grand Auction House of the Sanctuary Alliance at a low price, so that they could support the front line. At the same time, he had also received a promise from the Grand Auction House of the Sanctuary Alliance that some of the materials he needed would also be provided by the Grand Auction House of the Sanctuary Alliance. The Master Alchemist who refined the Bloody Storm from the Sawtooth Ray was found by the Grand Auction House of the Sanctuary Alliance for Lin Xian. Otherwise, with his ability, he wouldn't have been able to find a Master Alchemist who could refine legendary equipment in such a short time. The Master Alchemist said that the Bloody Storm was born for killing. The blood of countless enemies was likely to cause a qualitative change in the future. In other words, this weapon had the possibility of being promoted to the epic grade. The source of this possibility came from some of the blood of the snake demon god Andamari that Lin Xian had provided. After being soaked in the blood of the demon god, the Bloody Storm had the possibility of evolving. Lin Xian devoted himself to the development of elixirs. With the existence of the Flame of the Heart, he had made great progress in refining elixirs. He could even produce ordinary elixirs, such as the Spirit Recovering Elixir and the Spirit Explosion Elixir, in large quantities. For this, he had received a special reward from the upper echelons of the Magic Temple. He had also been provided with a large number of precious materials from within the Magic Temple. While refining ordinary elixirs at the front line, Lin Xian had also devoted most of his energy to refining important elixirs. First, he restored the refining method of the Forest Boa Bodybuilding Elixir. With the Forest Boa Snake's Gallbladder, the Inner Alchemy, the 9-petal Black Chrysanthemum, the 3-leaf Ice Fairy Fruit, and a dozen other medicinal materials, he had successfully refined the Forest Boa Bodybuilding Elixir. Among them, he had refined a total of 35 Forest Boa Bodybuilding Elixirs with the Gallbladder and the Inner Alchemy of the Forest Boa King. He had sent a copy to everyone, including Long Haochen. He had refined more than 200 Forest Boa Bodybuilding Elixirs with the Inner Alchemy of the Ordinary Forest Boa, all of which were distributed to everyone, leaving only about 30 elixirs for the Monster Hunter's Mission Tower in exchange for a large number of merit points. After the Boa Forest Body Tempering Pill was refined, Lin Xian proceeded with an extremely important research, which was also the research he had always wanted to complete. That was the Spirit Raising Elixir. When Long Haochen and Lin Xian had first met, Lin Xian had given him a bottle of spirit-raising elixirs. However, that kind of spirit-raising elixir could only be used within the 5th level. Although the effect of increasing spiritual power was not bad, its use was limited. Lin Xian knew very well that for himself and his companions, the spirit-raising elixir was the most important. The higher one's cultivation, the more difficult it was to increase spiritual power. Moreover, the spirit-raising elixir that he wanted to refine could not have any side effect. It was a method that relied entirely on replenishing the body to increase spiritual power. This required a large number of treasures of heaven and earth to be able to be completed, and it also required continuous experimentation. Lin Xian himself became the subject of the experiment. After more than half a year of research and experimentation, he finally succeeded not long ago. He successfully refined a spirit-raising elixir that had no restrictions and could be consumed by any cultivator. Every time one was consumed and absorbed through cultivation, it could increase one's internal spiritual power by as much as 100. This spirit-raising elixir was named Xian Elixir by Lin Xian, using his own name to name this elixir. It could be seen how satisfied he was with his creation. However, the Xian elixir could not be refined infinitely. The materials it needed were precious, and Lin Xian himself could only successfully refine it 3 times. After that, he was unable to refine it again. For the Xian elixir, he used the crystal core of the snake demon god Andamari, the medicinal liquid brewed from the dragon crystal of the heaven-defying demon dragon, the meat and tendons of the forest boa king, and more than 30 kinds of precious herbs to be able to complete it. 3 batches, more than 200 elixirs. In fact, if it was divided evenly among the 7 people, it would not be much. It could only help each person increase their internal spiritual power by about 3,000 points. However, the creation of this formula was undoubtedly creative. In theory, as long as they could kill more demon gods and heaven-defying demon dragons, then this Xian elixir could be refined. After all, with the forest boa king's huge body, there would be enough materials to refine another few hundred batches. Although the other herbs were precious, with the support of the Alliance, they could still be gathered. Other than the Xian elixir, Lin Xian also refined a brand new conjoined elixir. The side effects were greatly reduced, and the effect was greatly enhanced. It could be said that in this year, with the support of a large number of precious materials, Lin Xian had officially transformed from a potion master to a potion master. Although he refined elixirs day and night without much time to rest, constantly using the heart's flame to refine elixirs, he needed to recover his spiritual power. In terms of internal spiritual power improvement, Lin Xian's speed of improvement was even faster than Wang Yuan's, who was constantly killing to seek a breakthrough. Just a month ago, when he successfully refined the Xian elixir, his internal spiritual power officially broke through to the 7th level, and the second spiritual aperture was opened. After several of the most important elixirs were completed, Lin Xian recently relaxed a lot. Through the materials provided by the Magic Temple and the Sanctuary Grand Auction House, he refined a large number of elixirs for the front line, such as Spirit Recovery Elixir and Spirit Explosion Elixir, which could increase the strength of professionals in the front line. One should know that the biggest advantage of elixirs was that they could be used together with buff magic. 1 or 2 elixirs were not enough to affect the situation, but if there were a large number of elixirs, it could change the situation at a critical moment. Poof! The blue flame rose and swept, completely enveloping the huge furnace. This happened 3 times, and the flame disappeared. Lin Xian's face showed a trace of fatigue, sat on the chair next to him, and successfully refined another batch. At this moment, an anxious voice came from outside the door. Lin Xian, it's bad, Lin Xian, she. Chapter 168. Hearing Lin Xian's name, Lin Xian, who had just finished concocting pills and was extremely exhausted, almost instantly jumped out of his chair, sprinting to the door and pulling it open. The Magic Temple had given strict orders that even if the Temple Master came personally, he was not allowed to open the door. Moreover, there were strict guards outside, and no one was allowed to get close, so as not to disturb him while refining pills. Those who could come here were all with Lin Xian's permission. When the door was opened, a familiar face appeared outside. It was Dian Yen, originally from the 4th Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad, but later became the 22nd General Grade Demon Hunt Squad's warrior Dian Yen, which was also Lin Xian's squad. When the Holy War began, all the monster hunters joined the battle. After receiving the order, Lu Shi led his team of monster hunters to the magic temple to join the battle. Coincidentally, Lin Xian returned, so he met Lin Xian again. All the members of their team of monster hunters were allowed by Lin Xian to come to his refining room. The pills Lin Xian refined would also be given to them first. The 22 monster hunters were always at the front line. Although Lin Xian was worried, refining pills was more important to him. Therefore, he could only give the best pills to Lin Xian and the others. There was nothing else he could do. What he was most afraid to hear was that something had happened to Lin Xian on the battlefield. "What's wrong with Lin Xian?" Lin Xian asked anxiously. Dian Yan's body was covered in blood, and his face was extremely pale. It was obvious that he had overexerted himself. However, he still ran here immediately to pass the news to Lin Xian. It was obvious that something big had happened. Dian Yan looked at Lin Xian, whose eyes were bloodshot and whose face was full of exhaustion. He hesitated for a moment, then clenched his teeth and said it. "The bastards of the demons just launched an attack. In order to protect the captain, the vice-captain fought the enemy with all his might." How? Hurry up and tell me." Lin Xian grabbed Dian Yan's shoulder, who was much stronger than him. His eyes were almost spitting fire. Dian Yan took a deep breath and said, "Lin Xian, you have to steady yourself. The vice-leader's left arm was chopped off by the demons. First aid is in progress. Although the guild leader managed to save her life, I'm afraid that her left arm..." Upon hearing this, Lin Xian felt his brain buzz as if it was about to explode. The pores all over his body instantly contracted. The hands that grabbed Dian Yan's shoulders were actually squeezing the armor so hard that it made cracking sounds. After taking the forest boa body forging pill, his external spiritual force had also reached a very powerful level. At this moment, under his excitement, his strength actually made the Radiance grade armor groan. "Where is she? Quick, bring me there." Lin Xian was practically roaring at the top of his lungs. Dian Yan nodded, turned around, and ran outside. Lin Xian quickly followed and quickly rushed out. The place where Lin Xian refined medicine was in the depths of the magic temple. There was still a considerable distance from the front line, but at this moment, he couldn't care about anything else. He ran with Dian Yan with all his might. As they ran, Lin Xian asked Dian Yan with monstrous hatred, "Who did it to Xianair?" "Who?" Dian Yan said. "It was a gold dual saber demon. It suddenly ambushed the guild leader from the side. The vice leader was originally fighting a strong enemy. At the critical moment, she stepped forward bravely and blocked the gold dual saber demon. She traded injury for injury and got rid of that bastard, but her left arm also..." Lin Xian only felt a sharp pain in his heart. For a knight, whether it was the Guardian Knight or the Punishment Knight, the importance of an arm was obvious. As a Punishment Knight, losing an arm was equivalent to losing half of Lin Xian's strength. With her personality, how could she bear it? Just as the two of them ran forward, in the distance, a group of people were already running towards them. Wasn't it the general level number 22 monster hunters? Rays of golden light flashed as if they didn't need any spiritual power. Han Daosi and Yi Jun carried the stretcher, and the one casting healing magic was Lu Shi. At this moment, Lu Shi's eyes were also bloodshot, and her expression was extremely ugly. "Thin air!" Lin Xian let out a loud shout, rushing over with quick steps, even pushing Luo Shi away somewhat rudely, throwing himself in front of the stretcher. Even though he had already guessed Lin Xian's current situation, when he saw her with his own eyes, he couldn't help but tear up. Lin Xian's left arm was broken at the base, and the severed arm was beside her. It wasn't just a broken arm. Her left arm was obviously used to block the enemy's attack. The wrist was broken, and then the base of the arm was broken. The arm was broken in two, and was now completely pale. The bleeding had already stopped, but Lin Xian's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Her eyes were dim, and the spiritual power around her was extremely weak. The armor on her body was damaged in at least a dozen places, and it was obvious how fierce the battle she had experienced was. Her right hand was still tightly gripping her heavy sword, unwilling to let go. Exhilarating. Lin Xian quickly took out a bottle of pills, and poured one into his mouth. Then, he lowered his head and kissed Lin Xian's pale lips, passing the medicine over. Lin Xian hadn't fainted, and her mind was still very clear. She looked at Lin Xian and forced out a smile. "Idiot, why did you run out? This place is very close to the front lines, it's dangerous." "Dangerous? What danger? You're already like this, how could I not come? Bastard, bastard." As he spoke, Lin Xian suddenly turned around and grabbed the front of Lu Shi's shirt. "Are you still King man? You actually let a girl block a knife for you. What did you promise me? How did you take care of Xian, bastard?" Looking at Lin Xian's bloodshot eyes, Lu Shi didn't struggle at all. She let him push her body, and her face was filled with bitterness. If it was possible, how he wished that the one lying on the stretcher right now was him, and not Lin Xian. At that time, the situation really happened too quickly. That gold-veined dual-bladed demon's treacherous sneak attack from the side, and Lu Shi was only a priest after all. "Lin Xian, calm down." Lin Xian's beautiful eyes widened a bit, and she glared at him. Lin Xian hurriedly let go of Lu Shi's hand and returned to Lin Xian's side. He carefully picked up her severed arm. "Xian, don't be sad. No matter what price I have to pay, I will definitely help you restore your arm." Snot and tears flowed down. He had never felt such pain before. He suddenly felt that he was so small and powerless. He couldn't even protect his own woman. Don't talk about explaining to Long Haochen. He couldn't even get over the hurdle in his heart. Lin Xian said weakly, "It's okay. It's inevitable for a general to die in battle. Moreover, I'm not dead yet. I will be strong. I still have an arm, and I can still kill demons." After saying this, she couldn't hold on anymore. Her eyes closed, and she fainted on the stretcher. "Send her to my place. I'll go find the best doctor." After saying this, Lin Xian turned around and ran away. Priests could heal injuries, but they couldn't reattach severed limbs. Lin Xian had enough good pills to treat Lin Xian, but if he wanted to reattach her severed arm, he would need the best doctor. The sooner he could reattach it, the higher the possibility of saving her arm. 2 hours later, Lin Xian stood silently in the room. The other members of the General-Level Monster Hunters Team Number 22 were also there. Speaking of which, they were still considered lucky in this holy war. At least until now, their team of monster hunters hadn't died. They had a much better ending than Zhang Fangfang's team of monster hunters. Of course, this was also because the strength of the monster hunters wasn't too strong, so they didn't attract the attention of more powerful demons. Lu Shi's self-blame and pain were no less than Lin Xian's. His eyes were also bloodshot. They had been staying here, watching the doctor treat Lin Xian's injury. Lin Xian was considered lucky. At least the treatment was timely. She also had Lu Shi, a rank 6 priest, and Lin Xian, a master potion master, by her side. With the cooperation of the best doctor, the severed arm was finally reattached. At this time, the entire left side of Lin Xian's body was wrapped in gauze. It wasn't something that could recover in a short period of time. "Doctor, how is it?" Lin Xian asked the middle-aged woman who reattached Lin Xian's arm. The doctor let out a breath and said, "The reattachment was timely. However, she lost too much blood and her vitality was greatly damaged. She will need a long time to recuperate." Lin Xian's expression softened a little. Doctor, after she recovers, will she still be able to use her left arm like before? The doctor shook her head silently. I'm afraid not. Her arm was broken in two. The base of her arm and the most concentrated meridians in her wrist were greatly damaged. It's already good enough that she can barely take care of her daily life. It's very difficult for her to circulate her spiritual energy. And this is because you have such a good pill here. Otherwise, I don't have the confidence to save her arm. Let her recuperate. After saying this, the doctor left in a hurry. There were still many Temple League warriors waiting for her rescue. After the doctor left, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. No one said anything because they didn't know what to say. Lin Xian had suffered such a serious injury. This blow didn't only belong to Lin Xian. After losing the ability to use an arm, Lin Xian's strength would be greatly reduced if she wanted to work for the monster hunters. Lin Xian understood her too well. Lin Xian's personality was extremely headstrong. This kind of blow was too heavy for her. Sitting in front of the bed, Lin Xian said softly, Xian, don't worry. No matter what, I will definitely cure your arm. What the doctor can't do, I will. Lu Shi suddenly said, why don't we send her to the Southern Guard Pass? If we can invite a saint to treat her with the most powerful skill, she might be able to recover the function of her arm. Lin Xian silently shook his head and said, although the skills of a priest are powerful, it's more about stimulating the body's potential, thus achieving the goal of treatment. If I treat Xian in that way, I'm afraid her vitality will be affected. She has already suffered a great loss this time. I will use my own method to treat her. Brother Lu Shi, I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. Lu Shi smiled bitterly. I didn't protect Xian well. This has nothing to do with your impulsiveness. I can't wait for you to beat me up. Lin Xian sighed and said, it's not your fault. It's all because of the demons. These bastards, they're all demons. He couldn't help but clench his fists at this point. All of you go rest. I'll take care of Xian. Lu Shi said, Lin Xian, you're also very tired. Take care of yourself. He really didn't know what else to say to Lin Xian. At this time, it was useless. He quietly left with his companions, leaving the place to Lin Xian and Lin Xian. Gently stroking Lin Xian's pale face, the light in Lin Xian's eyes gradually changed. Xian, it's all my fault. I didn't protect you. If I could be by your side at that time, even if I die, I won't let the enemy hurt you. It's all because I'm too cowardly. As a magus, I can't go to the battlefield to protect my lover. Xian, I've already decided. For you, I'm willing to give up my oath. I want to learn offensive magic. By the time he said the last few words, Lin Xian was already sobbing uncontrollably again. His personality was originally somewhat cowardly. He had lost his parents at a young age, causing a haze in his heart that he couldn't let go. But at this moment, seeing the woman he loved lying in front of him, seriously injured, that feeling of powerlessness almost made him go crazy. He was thinking, if I can have great strength, have great offensive power, and fight side by side with her on the battlefield, even if I can't change the final outcome, at least I can die together with the person I love. Perhaps his mother never regretted that his father's failed magic caused him to die together with his mother. At least they died together. Xian, I won't be cowardly anymore. I will bring out all my courage. I will no longer fear offensive magic. I will learn all the strongest attacks, use them to defeat the enemy, use them to protect you, my beloved. The sky was covered with dark clouds. The thick stench of blood lingered on the southern pass. The southern pass was the weakest of the 6 impregnable passes of the Temple League. Although priests had strong healing abilities, their offensive power was their weakness. Moreover, the cultivation of priests was much more difficult than that of other professions. As a result, the number of high-level priests was much fewer than that of the other temple's high-level professions. If it weren't for the endless reinforcements from the other 5 temples and the Alliance's heavy support, the southern pass would have long been breached. When Long Houchen and the others were here, hadn't the southern pass been breached once? The majority of the people on the southern pass walls were experts from the other 5 temples. The priests of the Temple of the Priests had suffered heavy casualties in the Holy War over the past year. The demons had launched many surprise attacks against the priests. Although the demons suffered heavy losses every time, the Temple of the Priests' losses were even greater. How difficult was it to raise a high-level priest? But on the battlefield, high-level priests were still weak. They had very limited methods to protect themselves, and their offensive power was even worse. Chapter 169. Therefore, no matter how great a price the demons had to pay, there was one fact that was a heavy blow to the southern town pass. The number of priests continued to decrease. In the end, the southern town pass military had no choice but to withdraw all priests below grade 7 into the southern town pass and be responsible for treating the wounded. Only those priests above grade 7 who had the ability to protect themselves would be responsible for supporting the powerhouses of the other temple on the walls. However, there was an exception to everything. For example, on top of the southern town pass, there stood a priest who was stronger than the warriors and more valiant than the knight. He was more than 2 meters tall and had a sturdier physique than the warriors. He also had a shiny bald head and a weapon that even the demons would be afraid of. The General Class Monster Hunt 64 Commandment Priest, Sima Xian. Sima had returned to the southern town pass a long time ago. However, he wasn't like Wang Yuan, who immediately threw himself into the battlefield. Instead, he was frozen by the Temple of the Priests for a period of time. His teacher, the current temple master of the Temple of the Priests, left him in a secret chamber in the Temple of the Priests and taught him many of the skills of a commandment priest. After he finished his training, he set foot on the battlefield of the southern town pass. Speaking of which, the big shots of the Temple of the Priests had put in a lot of effort. As his strength continued to increase, Sima Xian also began to stand out in the Temple League. Although his fighting style made the Temple of the Priests blush with shame, they had to admit that Sima Xian was strong among the priests. This holy war also made the priests more and more aware of their lack of ability to protect themselves. As for the commandment priest, a special profession that had long disappeared from the stage of history, it was once again brought up for discussion among the upper echelons of the Temple of the Priests. In the end, the Temple of the Priests decided to use Sima Xian as an experiment and train him with all their might. They wanted to see what kind of strength a priest could achieve if they focused on fighting. As it turned out, the strength of the commandment priests far exceeded the expectations of the upper echelons of the Temple of the Priests. When Sima Xian stepped onto the Southern Guard Pass battlefield for the first time, he shocked everyone. The terrifying power of the Vigor Pill of Light and Sima Xian's indomitable strength made the higher-ups of the Temple of the Priests realize for the first time that their priests could also be so powerful. Not even warriors of the same rank could compare to Sima Xian. In the hands of Sima Xian, the Vigor Pill of Light was playing more and more tricks. Especially after eating the Forest Boa body forging pill that Lin Xin had given him, Sima Xian's external spiritual power had risen sharply. Currently, his cultivation base had also broken through to the 7th order. With the power of the vigorous ball of light in his hand, countless mid- and low-level demons had fallen in his hands. Moreover, Sima Xian was definitely not as straightforward as he appeared on the surface. Once he encountered an opponent he could not deal with, he would not fight to the death. After all, the top of the South Guard Pass was still human territory, and there were many experts protecting it. Therefore, his offensive power had exploded to a great extent. Even Sima Xian himself did not know how many demons he had killed. "Sima, the demons are attacking again," a petite female magician shouted at Sima Xian in front of her. She had just used the Eagle Eye spell to detect the movements of the demon army in the distance. Sima Xian turned around and grinned at the female magician. He gave her a thumbs up, indicating that he understood. He raised the vigor pill of light in his hand, and a domineering aura of light attribute spiritual power began to burst out of his body. The female magician was a fire magician. All along, as a fire magician, she had felt that her offensive power should be the strongest among all professions of the same rank. However, ever since she got to know Sima Xian, she realized that her perception was wrong. This fire magician was only at the 5th order, and was assigned to provide fire support on this side. When she came here for the first time, she could not help but be shocked to see that the person in front of her was actually a priest. A priest protecting a magician? Are you kidding me? However, when the devil race launched their attack that time, she realized how wrong she was. That terrifying roar and the powerful and domineering light attribute spiritual power made her witness the existence of a meat grinder. After that, she did not know how many times she had cooperated with Sima Xian. Standing behind this man, she would naturally feel a strong sense of security. It was as long as he was there, she did not need to worry about her own safety at all. The demon army launched their attack again. The ones rushing at the forefront were always the dual-bladed demons, who were used as cannon fodder. The human warriors had accumulated sufficient experience through continuous battles. The magicians did not waste their precious spiritual power on these cannon fodder. Instead, they allowed them to climb up the city wall. Although the huge number of dual-bladed demons had a certain impact on the city wall, they would also affect the charge of the other demons. Therefore, keeping them in the battle order could prevent the stronger demons from gathering together and launching an attack. Dozens of dual-bladed demons climbed up from the city wall in front of Sima Xian. Sima Xian coldly snorted. He did not even throw the vigor pill of light in his hand. Instead, he rushed towards the dual-bladed demons in a tyrannical manner. There were no spiritual power fluctuations. It was completely a hand-to-hand fight. Sima Xian even gave up on his own defense, allowing the dual-bladed demons to cut his naked upper body with their sharp blade. The tyrannical external spiritual power became the strongest defense. Sima Xian did not even wear armor. He relied on his body to block the dual-bladed demon's attack. Only white marks were left on his skin. Not wearing armor was a habit that Sima Xian had developed after participating in the Holy War. He had determined the path he wanted to take, which was to use his tyrannical external spiritual power to support his internal spiritual power. When external spiritual power was cultivated to the extreme, it was also a terrifying existence. At this time, although Sima Xian's internal spiritual power had broken through 10,000, with his extraordinary talent, his external spiritual power had already exceeded 15,000. It was enough to compare with Long Haochen, who was a god's favored. Among the demons, it was very difficult for a rank 8 low demon to win against him. When the dual-bladed demons met Sima Xian, they were like mud, smashing into pieces. Sima Xian stood there. His body was like an iron wall, not allowing the dual-bladed demons to take a single step forward. Even more powerful demons rushed over. Mixed among the dual-bladed demons, there were already mad demons, bird demons, dual-headed demon vultures, bear demons, lion demons, and even great demons joining the battle. Rumble, a rank 6 demon commander, had just jumped onto the city wall and raised his heavy sword when he met Sima Xian. The vigor pill of light mixed with an incomparably sharp aura bombarded him, making the most intimate contact with him. That was a rank 6 demon commander. In front of the vigor pill of light, he didn't even have the power to resist. Amidst the violent explosion, the vigor pill of light only had a flash of golden light, and the heavy sword in the demon commander's hand and his sternum had already been completely smashed. After continuous use and cultivation, the vigor pill of light now had more skills than the original ones. Sima Xian revolved around his most beloved weapon and created a series of powerful skills. For example, the seemingly simple attack just now actually contained the existence of the shattering and exploding abilities, but it didn't use absorption. It also didn't use the power of his purple godly thunder spiritual stove. Using skills separately, coupled with some self-created skills, could greatly reduce the consumption of internal spiritual power. Many things that could be done with external spiritual power, Sima Xian wouldn't use his own internal spiritual power. In this way, his ability to continue fighting on the battlefield was greatly enhanced. A series of fireballs flew past Sima Xian's side, blowing a group of dual-bladed demons into pieces. Sima Xian didn't even need to look back to know that this was the masterpiece of the female magician who was about the same age as him. The two of them had been working together for a long time, and this tacit understanding was still there. However, every time he felt the aura of this fire magic explosion, he couldn't help but think of Brother Yao. Although Lin Xian didn't know offensive magic, when he thought of him, Sima Xian's face would unconsciously reveal a trace of a smile. "Brother, I really miss you a little. I don't know when we can stand together on the battlefield again. How nice it would be if you were behind me." Roar, a tyrannical roar sounded, pulling Sima Xian back from his thoughts. A mountain-like figure climbed up from the top of the city wall. Boom, gravel splashed. This big guy had just climbed up the city wall, and the huge mace in his hand had already swept away 2 battlements. A fierce aura mixed with a strong smell of blood assaulted Lin Li's nostrils. Bear demons, one of the most tyrannical demons in melee combat. The top bear demons could even compete with the heaven-defying demon dragon clan in terms of strength. The bear demons that appeared in front of Sima Xian were only about 3 meters tall. It was definitely not considered majestic among the bear demons, but its hair was dark silver. As soon as it climbed up the city wall, its tyrannical aura greatly increased the aura of the other demons. Bear Demon's Lord, 8th grade. Sima Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew that he had encountered a powerful opponent. The mace in the hands of this Bear Demon's Lord was about the same length as its height. It was also more than 3 meters long, and the thickest part was close to the diameter of the vigor ball of light. It was such a terrifying weapon that could destroy the battlements so easily. Its terrifying power was probably not something that Lin Li could compare with. The Bear Demon's Lord roared at the sky, and its fierce aura intensified. Its eyes instantly locked on Sima Xian. The vigor ball of light in Sima Xian's hand was too obvious. The huge mace was suddenly raised, and an evil wind blew in Lin Li's face. The female sorcerer not far behind Sima Xian turned pale. If such a killing weapon were to be blasted down, it would probably turn into slag. Sima Xian, however, was not afraid. He also roared at the sky, and a thick light element suddenly erupted from his body. His right arm instantly turned a transparent color. It was a buff skill similar to the knight's body of glorious light. Not only that, but his already extremely majestic body suddenly soared, and the muscles on his upper body swelled. In addition to the golden light element, there was an additional layer of wild red, causing the spiritual power around his body to turn reddish gold. In an instant, his aura increased greatly. He strode straight to the Bear Demon's Lord. The gigantic mace brought with it an incomparable might as it smashed towards Sima Xian's head. The terrifying pressure caused a sharp whooshing sound in the air. It was not an exaggeration to describe this sound as terrifying. This big guy probably weighed more than 1,000 pounds. Just as the Bear Demon's Lord's mace was about to collide with Sima Xian's vigor ball of light, Sima Xian's footsteps seemed to be in a mess. His body crossed about a meter to the side, and his whole body staggered down. Even the vigor ball of light was withdrawn a little. His movement exposed the female sorcerer behind him. Even if the Bear Demon's Lord's blow could not hit him, the mace only needed to push forward to smash the female sorcerer's body into pieces. The female sorcerer's face turned pale, and she staggered back. She seemed to have smelled the blood coming from the thick spikes of the mace. At this moment, Sima Xian's vigor ball of light moved. When the huge mace was less than a meter from the ground, his vigor ball of light swept out brazenly, hitting right where the mace was broken. With a loud bang, the thick mace was swung away, and the downward slash turned into a horizontal sweep, causing the Bear Demon's Lord's movements to freeze. Similarly, under the effect of the huge recoil, Sima Xian also staggered a few steps. However, his steps were just right. He stepped diagonally forward, and the vigor ball of light that was shaken up was instantly waved under the effect of the chain, smashing straight at the hands of the Bear Demon's Lord that were holding the mace. The huge size of the mace also caused its own clumsiness. With Sima Xian's leverage, coupled with his exquisite footwork, he actually turned the situation around in an instant, turning passivity into initiative. After all, the Bear Demon's Lord was the Bear Demon's Lord. His powerful level 8 strength made him look down on Sima Xian. The mace was swung aside, and he held the thick tail with both hands. He suddenly made a smashing action, using the conical tail of the mace to stab the vigor ball of light. Unfortunately, the Bear Demon's Lord did not see that at this time, Sima Xian's eyes were shining with a strange light. Bang! The huge metal ball collided with the tail of the mace, and the vigor ball of light was swung away again. However, the Bear Demon's Lord also underestimated Sima Xian's strength. Although this blow did not hurt him, it once again made him stagger, and his entire upper body turned 45 degrees to the side. Sima Xian's external spiritual energy was more than 15,000, and with the increase in strength after going berserk, although he couldn't compare to the demonic bear in terms of strength, with the various effects of the pill of light, he wasn't at a disadvantage in terms of strength. After the vigor ball of light was swung away this time, Sima Xian was already very close to the Bear Demon's Lord. This time, the vigor ball of light spun back from top to bottom, smashing straight at the jaw of the Bear Demons. The Bear Demon's Lord's external spiritual energy exceeded 30,000. Even so, if his jaw was hit head-on by the vigor ball of light, Sima Xian was sure that his head would definitely be smashed like a rotten watermelon. The Bear Demon Lord was furious. Not only was he knocked back, but his body was also knocked askew. When he turned around, the vigorous light pill that he borrowed from the momentum had already blasted upwards. This time, it was obviously impossible for him to block it with his mace. The Bear Demon's Lord was also battle-hardened. At this critical moment, he made what he thought was the most correct choice. He let go of the heavy and terrifying mace at the same time, and a pair of bare paws slapped down from above, slapping the vigor ball of light fiercely. The Bear Demon's Lord who had lost his weapon was like a beast that had lost its claws and fangs. However, his brute force was extremely terrifying after all. The dark silver fur on the Bear Demons could be seen bursting out a thick layer of dark aura. This dark aura instantly gathered on his palms and collided with the vigor ball of light fiercely. Rumble, a violent explosion that sounded like a thunderclap from a clear sky caused the entire Southern Guard Pass to raise their eyebrows. The intense golden light produced a terrifying explosion in an instant. Not only that, purple lightning lingered and crackled, and a burnt smell spread from the center of the collision. The moment the Bear Demon's Lord's palms slapped the vigor ball of light, he only felt a strong explosive force suddenly bursting out from the huge metal ball. Even with his cultivation base, his palms could not help but be shaken. At this moment, his right leg had already swept out, and his target was the mace that had fallen to the ground. With the strength of his feet, under normal circumstances, he could totally kick the mace horizontally and hit Sima Xian from the side. However, he was unable to complete this action, because at the same time his palms were shaken by the explosive force, a strong sense of numbness spread throughout his body. Purple electric currents lingered on his dark silver fur. That kind of numbing pain was even more stimulating than the pain. That's right, this was the blow that Sima Xian used all his strength. Holy light blast, explosion, crushing, absorption, crushing, and triple blast. There was also the external spiritual power that he exerted after going berserk, and the spiritual stove of purple godly thunder. It seemed like a simple blow, but it consumed almost 1/3 of Sima Qian's spiritual power. The vigor ball of light bloomed with the strongest light. With his palms shaken up, the bear demon's lord's chest was naturally wide open. Moreover, under the effect of absorption, the vigor ball of light was also brought up along with his palms. Sima Qian's right foot stomped heavily on the ground, and his strong body suddenly soared up. His fists fiercely bombarded the vigor ball of light from behind. At this moment, both of his palms had completely turned into a sparkling white color. Holy Spirit, the purest light element, erupted. Boom! Under Sima Qian's all-out attack, the light vigor ball fiercely smashed into the demonic bear overlord's chest. The metal ball made the most intimate contact with the demonic bear overlord's chest muscles. In the violent roar, the spiritual stove of purple godly thunder burst out 9 purple light. Each purple light had a faint dragon shape, and all of them blasted into the body of the bear demon's lord. The heavy bombardment directly blasted the body of the bear demon's lord. It happened that the battlements behind it had been blasted, and it was about to fly down the city. However, the defense of the bear demon's lord was indeed terrifying. Under such a heavy blow, it was only bleeding from its mouth and nose. Under the multiple bombardment of the vigor ball of light, its hard chest bones were not broken. The demon's strongest defense was indeed not as simple as it seemed. Would Sima Qian let it be blasted out just like that? If so, at least he wouldn't be able to take the life of the bear demon's lord. Unfortunately, the moment Sima Qian started the attack, he had never thought of letting the other party leave the battlefield. It was either the other party die or he die. Without such willpower, how could he continue to improve himself on the battlefield? The thick chain suddenly pulled back, and the vigor ball of light attached to the chest of the bear demon's lord suddenly retreated, immediately pulling the huge body of the bear demon's lord back. The paralysis effect of the spiritual stove of purple godly thunder was still there, and the bear demon's lord could not make any effective resistance at all. Sima Qian kicked the vigor ball of light, and suddenly the bear demon's lord was shaken into the sky. Immediately afterward, he waved the vigor ball of light in his hand horizontally, and then blasted it upward again. This time, his target was the head of the bear demon's lord. The strong resistance of the body allowed the bear demon's lord to finally regain the ability to move in the air. Although the vigor ball of light did not shatter the bones in his chest, this killer weapon, combined with the power of the spiritual stove of purple godly thunder, still charred a large area of the muscles in his chest. The terrifying shock made his internal organs feel like they were on fire, and he was already seriously injured. Even so, the bear demon's lord did not understand why he had lost. Whether it was strength, cultivation, or body, he should be above that human. Even if his weapon had a certain advantage, he should not have been beaten by the opponent to the point where he could not fight back and was completely led by the nose. Of course, the bear demon's lord did not know how much Sima Qian had paid to improve his strength. Long Haochen was not the only one who knew the ancient martial arts from the Tower of Eternity. Each of them had learned how to best seize the opportunity and how to exert their strongest power in battle. The defense of the bear demon's lord was indeed strong, and his spiritual power was far superior to Sima Qian's. However, his body was too cumbersome. The bear demons were only suitable for blocking at the front, but in a one-on-one battle, their cumbersome weight was a disadvantage. What's more, although Sima Qian's weapon was not necessarily much more powerful than his mace, he still needed to be able to exert the mace's power. From the beginning, his mace had not been able to exert its full strength. Facing the threat of life and death, the bear demon's lord let out a shrill roar in the air. All the hair on his body stood on end, and a huge black shadow appeared behind him. Giant bear strength. This was a powerful power that only the Lord-level bear demons had, and he had not had the chance to use it before. thick black instantly enveloped his arms, and he slammed them down with all his might, meeting the vigor ball of light that was bombarding him. The Bear Demon's Lord's heart was filled with fear. He just wanted to jump off the city wall and stay away from this terrifying man who used metal. Rumble. Another violent collision caused the Bear Demon Overlord's body to be forcefully blasted away once more. Just as he wanted to use this opportunity to fall off the city walls, a huge shadow suddenly swept up and fiercely struck his back from the back, forcing him to fall back again. Wasn't that huge black shadow the mace in the hands of the Bear Demon's Lord from the beginning? The spiked mace was sent flying by Sima Xian's foot. Although the demonic Bear Lord had used the power of the giant bear to block the Vigor Pill of Light's pursuit, it was unable to deflect the attack. The thickest part of the mace hit the Bear Demon's Lord's back. The heavy bombardment made his vision go black, and the muscles on his back were torn by the spikes on the mace. He fell to the ground again. However, to his surprise, the bald man's figure disappeared, and what met his falling figure was a bursting fireball with a diameter of 0.5 meter. The Bear Demon's Lord was depressed. If he was at his peak, even if he didn't dodge, such a fireball wouldn't be able to harm him at all. However, he couldn't do it now. His chest had already been severely injured. If he were to be hit again, he might not be able to escape. In desperation, he could only raise his arms to resist the fireball. The Lord Bear Demon's physical resistance was indeed strong. After being hit head-on by the 5th-grade bursting fireball, his body only paused in the air for a moment before falling to the ground. He did not suffer any injuries, but the wound on his chest that had been charred by the electric shock was spurting blood due to the violent shock. However, in the next moment, the Bear Demons let out a shrill roar, and the momentum of his body's fall increased sharply. He fell hard on the top of the southern pass wall, and his screams became weaker and weaker. Unbeknownst to him, the bald priest who defeated him was already behind him. A bright silver dagger fiercely pierced through the back of his neck, where the central nervous system was located. Moreover, it was stabbed diagonally upwards into his brain. The spiritual wings on his back retracted, and Sima Xian gasped for breath. When the Bear Demons were smashed back by the mace, he had already flown into the air, completed a turn in the air, and fell instantly. At the same time that the Bear Demon's Lord was hit by the bursting fireball, he landed behind the Bear Demon's Lord. The terrifying dagger in his hand, which was only 2 feet long but 4 inches wide, was a miniature version of Wang Yuanyuan's Bloody Storm. Although its power was far less terrifying than Bloody Storm, the bloody dagger made from the remaining Saw Ray's horn had already knocked on the door of the legendary realm. In terms of piercing ability, the vigorous light ball could not compare to it. Sima Xian was well aware of the tenacious vitality of the Bear Demon's Lord, and after going berserk, his strength had been greatly depleted. Once he could not continue to restrain the Bear Demon's Lord, he might be devoured by the other party. Therefore, he used the bloody dagger to complete the final blow, destroying the Bear Demons from the vital point. Sitting on the corpse of the Bear Demon's Lord, Sima Xian gasped for breath, but the bloody dagger did not stop. He dug out the magical crystal of the Bear Demon's Lord and put it into his storage spiritual tool. He did not know if it was because of Lin Xian's influence, but Sima Xian was never tired of collecting high-level magical crystals on the battlefield. There were too many enemies. It was impossible to collect the corpses in time, but it was more than enough to collect the magical crystals. Even he himself did not know how many high-level magical crystals he had collected. The Holy War had brought a huge blow to mankind, but at the same time, the greater the danger, the greater the opportunity. For the powerhouses of the Temple League, who were fighting on the front line, as long as they could survive, any one of them would have accumulated a lot of magical crystals. The female mage looked at Sima Xian's tired look, but there was a flame-like brilliance in her eyes. She walked quickly to him and handed him a bottle of elixir. Sima Xian took the elixir, put a few in his mouth, and swallowed them. However, he said unhappily, This guy is too sturdy. I almost couldn't deal with him. The female mage said shamefully, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you with anything. Sima Xian raised his head and grinned at the beautiful female mage. He said, It's nothing. This guy is probably at the 8th grade and your magic power is not enough. Isn't it done now? The female mage patted her plump chest and said, You really scared me to death just now. When you dodged his attack, I really thought you were going to give up on me. Sima Xian chuckled and said, You have no confidence in your brother. I'm not dead yet. No one can touch you. The female mage's heart warmed, and she nodded silently. Sima Xian turned over and jumped off the back of the bear demon's lord. He kicked the guy's corpse to the side. This was the corpse of the 8th grade demons, and it was worth a lot. It would be a pity to kick it out of the city. He took a few steps forward and picked up the huge mace that was shining with a dark golden light. When this big guy hit the back of the bear demon's lord, he clearly saw the dark golden light flashing on the mace, and there was a fierce aura bursting out from it. However, this thing was too big. Although Sima Xian was big, he still couldn't control the huge handle of the mace. The reason why he didn't use his own storage artifact to store the body of the bear demon's lord was to leave room for this big guy. He could find an alchemist master to modify it later. Maybe he could use it. After getting used to the light ball, he had a special fondness for this kind of heavy weapon. The reinforcements had come up. The surrounding warriors naturally saw Sima Xian kill the 8th grade bear demon's lord. Seeing that he had consumed too much energy, someone naturally took his place. Sima Xian didn't try to be brave. He quickly retreated to the back, found a corner to sit down, and greedily breathed in the air. Although it was thrilling just now, it was also very satisfying for him. It was his first time killing a bear demon's lord of this level. Such a valuable experience would undoubtedly be of great benefit to the improvement of his strength. The female magician also sat next to him and handed him a water bag. Sima Xian didn't stand on ceremony. He gulped down all the water inside. Satisfying, but why does your water bag smell so fragrant? Tsk, it makes me want to sneeze. Sima Xian handed the water bag back. The female magician glared at him and said, This is for my own use. How can it not smell good? Do you think everyone is like you stinky men? Sima Xian smiled, touched his big bald head and said, That's not good. You are a woman, after all. Don't do this next time. The female magician snorted and said, So what if I'm a woman? In this world, it's hard to say if I can live to see tomorrow. There's only endless killing every day. Can't you see the fragility of life? If you dare to take it, I'll dare to have sex with you right here. Do you dare? Sima Xian never expected that the robber would be so tough. The commandment priest, who was still dominating the battlefield just a moment ago, now seemed a little embarrassed. Don't tell me you have a fever, Sima Xian said cautiously. The female magician bit her red lips. Fever my ass. I'm very normal. Can't you? You don't even dare to take it when it's in front of you? I'm still a virgin. Sima Xian smiled bitterly. Sister, don't be like this. I can't accept it. The female magician snorted coldly. Forget it if you don't dare. After saying that, she sat down on the side. In fact, only she knew how fast her heart was beating at this time. Yes, in this holy war, who knew how long they could live? Perhaps they would become corpses in the next moment. The female magician could not remember how many times Sima Xian had saved her. Every time, it was his burly body in front of her to block the enemy's frenzied attacks. When he killed the bear demon's overlord, the last line of defense in the female magician's heart had been broken. She did not know if she loved him, but she almost crazily wanted to make love to the man in front of her and give her most precious thing to him. At least, even if she died in battle in this southern fortress, it would not be a waste of her life. Sorry, sister, I already have a woman, Sima Xian said tentatively. He could see that the female magician was not calm at this time. I know. Isn't it your little white flower? You have to take out the letter she wrote to you and read it at least 3 or 5 times a day. Everyone who knows you knows that. I don't care." The female magician suddenly turned her head and stared fiercely at Sima Xian. Sima Xian shook his head and said, "No, I'm a loyal man. Forget it. Do you think I care about you?" The female magician suddenly stood up and slapped Sima Xian's bald head. Sima Xian was stunned by her slap. Just as the female magician was about to turn around and leave with tears in her eyes, she suddenly saw the bald priest in front of her suddenly jump up and throw her to the ground like a mountain. Isn't this too violent? The huge weight made it hard for the female magician to breathe, but there was a sweet fishy smell. Blood was flowing down from the corner of Sima Xian's mouth and dripping on her face. Sima Xian suddenly twisted his body to the side and rolled back to the previous corner with her. The female magician then saw that there was a huge wound on Sima Xian's back that was so deep that bones could be seen. And at the place where she was thrown to the ground by Sima Xian, a figure that had been released from invisibility was dismembered by the powerhouses of the Temple League. It was a stealer from the Mian Earth tribe and one that was at least at the 6th grade. "Are you okay? Don't scare me." The female magician hugged Sima Xian's head and looked at the blood flowing down from the corner of his mouth. She did not know what to do for a moment. "I'm fine, I won't die. That bastard's weapon has a piercing effect. Luckily, I managed to avoid being hit in the vitals." Sima Xian panted heavily and swallowed another pill. Chapter 170. A golden light fell from the sky and fell on Sima Xian's body. He didn't know which powerful priest paid attention to this situation and gave him very effective treatment. The female magician gritted her teeth and looked at the bald man in front of her. After a while, she suddenly grabbed Sima Xian's neck and fiercely kissed his mouth. This was really too sudden, coupled with Sima Xian's weak body. He actually couldn't dodge and was kissed. At this moment, Sima Xian's mind was, "What about my little white flower?" This kiss came quickly, but it also left quickly. The female magician suddenly raised her head and said with a domineering tone, "I don't care whether you are a little white flower or not. This old lady is determined to follow you, even if you don't want me. But my heart already belongs to someone," Sima Xian said righteously. The female magician snorted disdainfully, "This old lady only wants your body, I don't want your heart." Sima Xian simply stopped talking because he didn't know what to say. When this woman became fierce, no man could compare to her in any way. In fact, although he looked rough, his heart was very delicate. He could feel some of the thoughts in this female magician's heart. Under her fierce appearance, there was actually a hidden fear of war in her heart. She just wanted to be able to find someone to rely on. This King War, this King Holy War. Looking at Sima Xian's eyes, the female magician gradually calmed down. She leaned on his side and murmured in a low voice, "I'm sorry." Sima Xian raised his hand and hugged her shoulder. "It's okay, you're the one who suffered. It will pass, it will pass." The female magician's eyes were a little moist. She suddenly raised her head and looked at him, saying, "If your little white flower doesn't want you anymore, how about I follow you? I'm serious. At least, you're a strong man." Sima Xian didn't say anything. With a flash of light in his hand, a few sheepskin scrolls appeared in his hand. His gaze became gentle in an instant. The female magician stopped talking. When she saw the way Sima Xian stared at the sheepskin scroll, she knew that she would not be able to enter his heart. Sima Xian carefully opened the sheepskin scrolls one by one. There were a total of 4 sheepskin scrolls, and each of them was well preserved, without any damage. The first letter. "Bastard, you clearly know that I don't want you to call me little white flower, yet you still call me that. I hate you, bald head. However, if you really dare to die on the front line, I will hate you forever. You have to come back alive. No matter how long it took. Also, write back to me. If I don't receive your next letter within 3 months, I'll immediately marry someone else, and you won't be able to rest in peace even after your death. Sima Xian could still clearly remember the mixed feelings he had when he read the first letter. She wrote me back. She let me go back alive. She said she would marry without seeing my letter. She cares about me. Even he himself did not know how much motivation and courage this letter had given him at that time. However, he was sure that without the 4 sheepskin scrolls in his hands, he would not have been able to break through to the 7th rank so smoothly. The second letter, there's hope as long as you're alive. Yes, the second letter was just that simple. At that time, Sima Xian's reply to his little white flower was, "Since you care about me so much, do you like me? Do I have a chance?" The third letter, "Do you think I'm very fierce? If you're not afraid of me beating you or scolding you, wait until the holy war is over and bring food to see me. If you had to choose between me and your monster hunters, who would you choose?" When he received the third letter, Sima Xian struggled for a long time. His good mood was replaced by irritation. During that period of time, he was exceptionally violent on the battlefield. In his reply to Feng Ling he only wrote 2 simple words: monster hunters. Yes, he liked Feng Ling It was love at first sight, so much so that he was hopelessly fond of her. However, this fondness could not shake his faith. Feng Ling-er's 4th letter came very quickly. It was also the last letter so far. "I discovered that I'm really starting to like you. Because I like men with perseverance. Train your muscles to become sturdier. You're not allowed to fool around. Who knows, after a few days, I might come to see you. As long as you're alive, I'll give you a chance." Exorcist Mountain Pass, Assassin Temple. Ding. Her nimble figure twisted in the air and floated to the ground. However, when she landed, her feet were not very stable. She staggered several steps before she managed to stabilize herself. The huge sickle in her hand swept out, but its target was the empty space in front of her. Ding! Another crisp sound, only this time the sound was even longer. Kai-er's whole body shook violently, and the scythe in her hand flew out of her hand. She herself also staggered, sitting on the ground. A cold light quietly appeared in front of her and pointed at her throat, causing her skin to slightly tremble. The cold light vanished, and the aged voice rang out. "Very good. You were able to withstand my attack for half an hour, and only when your spiritual power was exhausted did you become unable to continue resisting. Among the 7th step, your fighting skills are already the best in the Assassin Temple." Kai-er propped herself up with her hands, and her forehead was already dripping with sweat. She somewhat coquettishly said to Xing Yu, "A great-grandfather, you're too serious. I'm exhausted." While saying that, she picked up the huge sickle that had fallen to the side. This was clearly not her death god's sickle, but was made of the same metal. After all, in the process of wielding the death god's sickle, Kai-er might not be able to control herself and be unable to stop. Xing Yu lightly sighed and shook his head. Kai-er looked at him suspiciously and said, "A great-grandfather, what's wrong? Didn't you just say that I learn fast and have good skills?" Xing Yu slightly smiled, walked in front of her, and touched her head. "Your current strength is very good. However, you lack one thing that an assassin should have." "What is it?" "Murderous aura." Kai-er was stunned for a moment and said, "Then how can I cultivate murderous aura?" Xing Yu said, "The murderous aura of an assassin is in the bones, cultivated from childhood. You have lost your previous memory, and also lost the original murderous aura. In the process of the battle, an assassin is at his strongest when he bursts out his strongest murderous aura in an instant from silence, and uses it in his offensive skills to give the enemy a fatal blow." Kai-er stamped her feet. "It's not too late for me to cultivate now, but you won't let me join the battlefield. If I don't kill the enemy, how can I cultivate murderous aura?" Xing Yu's eyes revealed a trace of contradiction. He lightly sighed and said, "I can't bear to. Back then, when you were still very young, I sent you to the Sword of Samsara to gain experience. At that time, I hardened my heart and ignored your parents' pleas. However, as time passed, although you lost your murderous aura this time, you also found your innocence and happiness. A great-grandfather really can't bear to let you return to your previous self. If only there was no war, I hope you can be happy like this forever. Ka opened her eyes wide and said, But, didn't you say that I am the reincarnation saintess, and I have to shoulder the mission of the reincarnation saintess? Moreover, I have to help Houchin. It's been a year, and he didn't even come to see me, really. Xingyu slightly smiled and said, Silly girl. You can't blame him. Houchin, this child, carries a far greater responsibility on his shoulders than you. The pressure on his shoulders is even greater. If you want him to be good, then in the future, you must be a good wife to him. I believe that as long as you are given enough time, with your talent, you will definitely be able to lead our alliance to counterattack the demons in the near future. Kai'er's eyes dimmed. It had been a year, and she didn't know how many times she had tried, hoping to recover her memories. But things turned out contrary to her wishes. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't recall anything. She couldn't even search for traces of her memories. The Exorcist Mountain Pass was her home, and after returning here, the hesitation in her heart gradually disappeared under the care of a great-grandfather and her parents. Facts proved that staying here was the best choice. Apart from not being able to see Long Houchin, she had lived a fulfilling and happy year. Not only had she recovered all her strength, but her cultivation had also made great progress. Her internal spiritual force had already exceeded 20,000, and she was about to advance to the 8th step. A great-grandfather, let's go again. Even if my murderous aura is lacking, as long as I have enough strength, it will be the same. Moreover, my murderous aura can be made up for with my death scythe. Every time I hold the death scythe, I feel as if I have changed into a different person, and all my fears will naturally disappear. Xingyu silently nodded. Don't worry, recover your spiritual force first. I'm afraid that soon, you will really have to go to the battlefield, and a great-grandfather will be at your side. Are you willing? If you are not willing, a great-grandfather will not force you. But if you want to help Long Houchin in the future, then this is your only choice. Kerr said without hesitation, A great-grandfather, I am willing, I want to help him. Xingyu once again stroked her head. His heart was filled with tender affection. His heart was somewhat chaotic, and it seemed to be even more uncomfortable than when Kai was extremely indifferent to him. Knights Templars. Dragon resisting pass. With a flash of golden light, Long Houchin took a step forward, and the illusory light around him completely converged, and he finally returned to the real world. He finally came out of the cave of illusion. Even he himself did not know how much time had passed since the moment he entered the cave of illusion. But once again returning to the real world, he had a completely new feeling, as if his whole person had been reborn. Soft light elements cheerfully danced around his body. Long Houchin had indeed changed a lot. He had grown a lot taller, and his shoulders were broader. But it was not the exaggerated kind of robust. His whole person gave people a very gentle and harmonious feeling. Whether it was the lines of his face or the lines of his body, they all seemed to be formed in accordance with the laws of the world. His long golden hair scattered on both sides of his cheeks, slightly covering his handsome and radiant face. His tall and burly figure, just by standing there, gave people a feeling of stabilizing the sea. His eyes were like two golden crystals, even his pupils were bright gold, but his gaze was very gentle. Only when he inadvertently gazed at him would he reveal a power that made people not dare to look directly at him. Stretching his arms to both sides of his body, he took a deep breath, and Long Houchin's face revealed a trace of a gentle smile. I'm back, Knights Templars. Sonorous and powerful footsteps sounded. Long Houchin turned his head to look, only to see a knight wearing a Mithril Foundation battle armor appear in front of him, giving him a knight's salute. Hello, Your Excellency Long Houchin. Hello. Long Houchen hurriedly returned the knight's salute. Please follow me. The Mithril Foundation knight turned around and walked out. Under the guidance of this knight, Long Houchen once again returned to the room he lived in when he first entered the Basilica of the Knights. Please wait a moment. The temple master has instructed that he will summon you as soon as you come out of seclusion. I will also inform your mother. All right, thank you. The Mithril Foundation knight left, and Long Houchen sat on the bed, feeling unreal. The bed was not considered soft, but the room had the warmth of a home. After being immersed in cultivation for so long, he finally came back. He could not help but lie on the bed and stretch his body. The comfortable feeling that was full of release made every cell in his body moan. Not long after, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. The door was pushed open and a slim figure rushed in. Long Houchen. Bayou's voice was full of surprise. She quickly rushed in front of Long Houchen and hugged her son who had just sat up. His mother's embrace was full of warmth and fragrance. Long Houchen hugged his mother tightly. Mom. His voice was unconsciously trembling, but the feeling of being able to lean in his mother's embrace was too comfortable. However, at this moment, he was more concerned about the responsibility that he had to shoulder. In order to give his mother a better life, for his mother's safety, and for every mother in the Temple League, as the Guardian Knight, what he could do was to resist the invasion of the demons. Why were you gone for so long? Why did you cultivate for so long? 1.5 years. Do you know how much I miss you? Bayou was choking with tears. Her husband had left and never returned. There was no news from him until now. When she finally saw her son went into seclusion again, and he had been gone for 1.5 years. If it was not for Yang Houhen and her father-in-law, who always comforted her and told her that Long Houchen was fine, she might have been unable to resist looking for him. It could be said that her son was the only hope in her heart. If something really happened to Long Houchen, Bayou didn't know if she would have the courage to continue living. Gentle light elements were released from Long Houchen's body and poured into her mother's body. That warm aura gradually calmed down Bayou's agitated mood. Releasing her son's hand, she seriously looked at Long Houchen. Long Houchen, you've lost weight. You've lost a lot of weight. But you're also full of vigor. My son is the most handsome. Long Houchen smiled faintly, trying hard not to let his tears fall. It has always been like this. Mom, this time I won't continue my seclusion. I'll stay in our dragon-resisting mountain pass to accompany you, okay? Okay, but... Bayou couldn't help but burst into tears again. But, can you really stay by my side? Long Houchen was silent. He couldn't, he had to go to the battlefield to kill the enemy, to fight for humanity. It was impossible for him to always stay by Bayou's side, to accompany his mother. However, in order to reunite more mothers in the Temple League with their sons, as a guardian knight, as the son of light, as a god's chosen one, he had to bear more and more responsibilities. The door opened, and the snow-white-haired Yang Houhen walked in from the outside. Looking at the mother and son, he didn't say anything. Previously, he had heard the conversation between Long Houchen and his mother from outside the door. He really didn't have the heart to disturb their warmth at this moment. Grandfather Yang. Long Houchen stood up and was about to bow to Yang Houhen. Yang Houhen waved his big sleeve, and a gentle force supported him, not letting him bow. Good boy, you've finally finished your cultivation. We were really anxious. You've been in seclusion for 1.5 years. Don't worry about other things, just accompany your mother. I'll give you 10 days off. Thank you. Long Houchen didn't decline. 10 days wasn't considered a long time, but it might be the only time he could spend with his mother for a long time in the future. Therefore, he didn't decline. Mother, where's the kitchen? I'll go cook for you. Oh, right. Didn't you ask me about Kyr last time? Let me tell you, okay? Kyr is really beautiful. I'll definitely marry her in the future as your daughter-in-law. Bayou finally smiled through her tears. You little thing, you're not even 20 yet, but you're already thinking about getting married. But it's fine, bring Kyr over for me to see. Long Houchen subconsciously looked at Yang Houhan, a questioning look in his eyes. Yang Houhan wasn't just the temple master of the Knights Templars. He was also the alliance master of the Temple League. He had an important position in the Temple League. After Long Houchen came out of seclusion, what he wanted to know the most was when he could reunite with his companions, and when he could step onto the battlefield again. Yang Houhan smiled and said, "We'll talk about everything in 10 days. The Alliance has made arrangements for you. You don't have to worry, your companions are doing well." Hearing this, Long Houchen immediately heaved a sigh of relief, and his expression relaxed a lot. "Mother, I'll go cook for you. I'll make some soup for you, okay?" Bai Yu smiled and said, "Houchen, actually, what Mother wants to drink the most is the wild vegetable soup you made when you were young." Warm days always passed quickly. For the past 10 days, Long Houchen had been accompanying his mother, cooking for her, massaging her, and chatting with her every day. He took care of his mother in every possible way. With Bai Yu's intelligence, she naturally understood that her son wouldn't have the time to accompany her after 10 days. Although her heart was full of reluctance, she still did her best to relax and enjoy these 10 days with her son. "Go, Houchen, don't worry about Mother. Mother will always be waiting for you in the dragon-resisting mountain pass. You're the son of the Judgment and Judgment Knight of the Seal Long Xingwu, the son of light favored by the Goddess of Light. Mother can't be selfish and keep you by her side. However, you must promise Mother that no matter what, you must protect yourself. Only by protecting yourself can you better protect others. Your father has been missing for so long, Mother can't lose you again." Looking at his mother's tearful eyes, Long Houchen's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. These 10 days, for him, was it not a kind of luxury? If such peaceful days could continue, how good would it be? However, he knew that this was impossible. Unless the demons were destroyed, otherwise, as the Son of Light, it was impossible for him to stay by his mother's side. Taking 2 steps back, Long Houchen did not dare to look at his mother's eyes again. He knelt on the ground, kowtowed to his mother 3 times, and quickly got up to leave. He was afraid that if he stayed for too long, he really wouldn't be able to leave his mother's side. Coming out of his mother's room, Long Houchen gasped for breath. Even when he was trying to break through the bottleneck of the 8th Order, he didn't feel as much pain as he did now. After a full 10 minutes of calmness, he was barely able to suppress the sadness in his heart. At least, he should not leave the dragon-resisting mountain pass for a period of time, and could often see his mother. This was the only way he could comfort himself. "How is your mother?" Looking at Long Houchen standing in front of him and bowing respectfully, Yang Houhan asked with a smile. Long Houchen nodded silently, but his eyes had regained their firmness. "Temple Lord, please assign tasks. Also, I want to know, when can my companions and I resume the establishment of the General Class Monster Hunt 64? At the same time, the smile on Yang Houhan's face disappeared, and he nodded, saying, "You should remember, when you separated, what Xing Yu said." Long Houchen said, "I remember, Xing Yu, a great-grandfather, said, only when my cultivation breaks through the 8th Order, and my companions break through the 7th Order, will we have the possibility of forming a new team." Yang Houhan nodded. "A year and a half has passed. Regardless of whether the Demon Emperor used you as an excuse to start the Holy War is still ongoing, and the Demon Emperor has not sent any powerhouses to search for you. Therefore, in a sense, you have already met the prerequisites to form a new team." "Really?" Long Houchen was overjoyed. His companions were all working hard to form a new team, and as the leader, his desire was stronger than anyone else's. A year and a half of meditation had made his mind more peaceful, but the desire in his heart had not diminished. "But, there's still a but, don't be anxious." Yang Houhan looked at Long Houchen seriously. The joy on Long Houchen's face faded, but his excitement did not disappear. because he knew that since Yang Haohan had given him hope, it proved that it was entirely possible for the General Class Monster Hunt 64 to form a new team. Yang Haohan said, "Among the younger generation, no one can surpass your strength. However, compared to the powerful demons, it is still far from enough. You should be very clear about this yourself. Therefore, you must prove to the Alliance that you have the ability to protect yourselves, only then can you form monster hunters." Long Haochen nodded and said, "If we can form monster hunters, I hope to be able to carry out missions behind the enemy lines. After all, Haoyue has the ability to destroy the demon god pillars, and the demon god pillars are the foundation of the demons. And the demon god pillars are the foundation of the demons. As long as we can continuously destroy them, then the demons will definitely be greatly weakened. One day, when all 72 demon god pillars collapse, the demons will no longer exist. Only then can we obtain the final victory in this holy war." Yang Haohan nodded and said, "What you said, the Alliance also knows. If it's up to me, I hope to wait until all of you have broken through to the Ninth Order before fighting with the demons. However, I also know that you can't wait that long, and the Alliance can't wait that long either." Long Haochen was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Grandfather Yang, how is the situation in the Holy War now?" These days, he had been wholeheartedly accompanying his mother, and did not inquire about the situation of the Holy War. Yang Haohan's expression was solemn and said, "The situation is very bad. For the past year and a half, we have been engaged in a meat-grinder war with the demons. The demon army has been continuously participating in the war, and we have also played all our cards. In the past year and a half, at least more than half of the resources that the Alliance has accumulated for thousands of years have been consumed. Although we have also eliminated a large number of the demons' forces. However, the Alliance's losses can only be described as disastrous. If this war continues, even if we can defeat the demons, the Alliance will definitely be greatly weakened. What's more, until now, the most powerful demons, the heaven-defying Demon Dragon Clan, Moon Devils, and Star Demons have yet to participate in the war. It's not an exaggeration to say that no matter where they appear on the battlefield, our strongholds will not be able to resist them." Long Haochen frowned. The Holy War has been going on for a year and a half, and he could fully imagine the tragic degree of this war. Although he did not directly participate in the war, he had fought too many battles with the demons. The number of demon gods assigned by the demons to each stronghold is as high as 8. Just this strength alone is very difficult to resist. According to what Yang Haohan said, at least for now, the 6 strongholds of the Temple League have not failed. Although this is good news, one can imagine the huge price that the Temple League has to pay. Yang Haohan continued, "Therefore, the Alliance really needs a group of powerhouses to infiltrate the enemy's rear and carry out missions there. Although our consumption is huge, the consumption of the demons is also not small. If they did not rely on eating the corpses of their own clansmen, they should have been unable to hold on long ago. This time, the demons are also injured, but for some reason, they still maintain their attacks, refusing to retreat no matter what. If this continues, we will be competing to see who collapses first. If the demons do not increase the intensity of their attacks, the Alliance will be able to hold on for a year and a half at most." Long Haochen said in a low voice, "Let us go. No battle behind the enemy's rear can be as effective as the destruction of the demon god pillars. As long as we can destroy a few of the demon god pillars behind the enemy's rear, the demons will definitely be greatly affected. The Alliance's recovery ability is stronger than the demons. As long as we have some buffer time to rebuild the stronghold offensive, then even if the heaven-defying Demon Dragon Clan, Moon Devils, and Star Demons join the battle, we may not be afraid." Yang Haohan said, "What you said makes sense. However, with your current strength, can you fight against the demon gods?" Snake Demon God Andamari's demon god pillars were destroyed. The demons will definitely guard the demon god pillars more tightly. How can you ensure that you can destroy the demon god pillars under your own safety? After all, Andamari is only the weakest of the 72 demon god pillars, and you still manage to receive the power of the forest boa king. After a year and a half, do you have the strength to fight against other demon gods? Long Houchen took a deep breath. I have confidence. Yang Haohan shook his head and said, This is not a matter of confidence, but strength. Therefore, as the leader of the monster hunters, you must prove to the Alliance that you have the strength to bring your companions into the interior of the demons to complete the mission. Long Houchen frowned slightly and said, Then how does the Alliance want me to prove it? Yang Haohan said, It's very simple, since you are a demon hunter, then according to the rules of the demon hunters. Later, I will record the number of merit points on your merit token. You must obtain 10 million merit points completely through killing on the battlefield, then the Alliance will allow you to reorganize the team. What? 10 million merit points? Long Houchen was shocked. That's way too difficult, right? What did 10 million merit points mean? It meant that he had to kill 10 of the top 36 demon gods, or kill 100 million dual-bladed demons to obtain it. Completely relying on killing to obtain 10 million merit points was not something that could be explained by the word difficult. Why? Are you discouraged? Yang Haohan smiled slightly. Long Houchen shook his head and said, No, I'm not discouraged, but it will take too long. I'm afraid the Alliance can't wait. Yang Haohan said, Therefore, you must work even harder. Moreover, you must do it under the condition that you do not expose your identity. In other words, your demon beast companions must not appear on the battlefield. I will arrange for you to ascend the Sacred Night Mountain again and choose a mount from there. Then, you must pass the Mithril Foundation Night Test to qualify for the battlefield. The 10 million merit points that follow will depend on your own hard work. A bitter smile appeared on Long Houchen's face. 10 million merit points was too much. Simply put, he would have to kill an elite demons of the level of the Emperor's Legion to collect it. Yang Haohan did not urge Long Houchen to make a decision. He only looked at him with a smile. This decision was made after he had discussed it with the higher-ups of the Temple League. Long Houchen had been in seclusion for so long, he could be sure that this child's cultivation must have increased by a considerable degree. But the more it was so, the more Yang Haohan could not let Long Houchen take the risk of entering the depths of the demons. For the Knights Templars, Long Houchen was too important. As long as he could continue to grow, it could be foreseen that he would become a legend of the Temple League in the future. He could even lead the Temple League to counterattack the demons. The proposal of 10 million merit points was a decision that Yang Haohan made after careful consideration. He understood that if he directly rejected the idea of Long Houchen and his companions to return to the battlefield, it would be a huge blow to them, and they might even give up on themselves. This was also what the Alliance did not want to see. And Yang Haohan had a good understanding of Long Houchen. He knew that this young man was extremely resilient. The 10 million merit points mission was actually to let him stay in the Knights Templars, in the dragon-resisting mountain pass. According to Yang Haohan's calculations, it would probably take 5 to 10 years to collect 10 million merit points. By that time, Long Houchen's cultivation should be able to break through to the 9th Order. There was also no need to restrain him. Moreover, leaving Long Houchen to fight in the dragon-resisting mountain pass would also allow him to better integrate into the Night Knights, cultivate his commanding talent, strengthen his influence in the Knights Templars, and make preparations for him to take over as the Temple Lord of the Knights Templars in the future. Therefore, this 10 million merit point mission could be said to be killing two birds with one stone, and it was also the best solution that Yang Haohan could come up with. His reason was dignified, and he was not afraid that Long Houchen would not agree. As for saying that the Temple League could only last for 1 to 1.5 years under the attack of the demons, this was not false. But the problem was, could the demons still maintain their attack for such a long time? At least in the last 6 months, the demons no longer attacked every day, and would only attack once every 10 days or half a month. Most of the time, they were recuperating and searching for food. With the same amount of recuperation, the Temple League's recovery speed would not be slower than the demons. Therefore, Yang Haohan had long known that there would not be a winner in this holy war, but at the same time, there would not be a result. At least the demons would not be able to defeat the Temple League this time. The demons had 3 strong races that did not participate in the war, and the humans also had their own trump card. Although Yang Haohan was not willing to use this trump card no matter what, if it was really a matter of life and death, then everything else could not be considered. The survival of the humans was the most important thing. "Okay, I promise you." Long Haochen finally said the words that Yang Haohan most wanted to hear. 10 million merit points wasn't completely impossible to accomplish. Long Haochen had just carefully calculated the corresponding merit points for each race of the demons. He believed that with his own efforts, it was still possible to achieve it. Just when Yang Haohan showed a smile on his face, Long Haochen's next words shocked him. "Grandfather Yang, but I do not need you to arrange for me to take the Mithril Foundation Knight's test. I want to directly take the Knight on a Golden Pedestal test, and I hope to inherit one of the few fine gold foundation armors that can reach the epic rank." Yang Haohan was really shocked. "Haochen, don't tell me you have already." This time it was Long Haochen's turn to show a smile on his face. He nodded his head vigorously. "Yes, I have completed the breakthrough. So, please allow me." Yang Haohan only felt that his breathing was a little rushed. He really succeeded, he actually succeeded. Although he had gone through a year and a half of closed-door training, the current him should be less than 20 years old. An 8th Order Holy Knight who was less than 20 years old. With great difficulty, Yang Haohan suppressed his surging emotions and said sternly, "Haochen, even if you have already broken through, you should not bite off more than you can chew. You should know that there are only 36 Knight on a golden pedestal in the entire temple. There are indeed a few empty fine gold foundation armors, but if you want to obtain the fine gold foundation armors, you must defeat a Knight on a golden pedestal of the same level. They are all close to the 9th Order, and in the test, although they will not wear the fine gold foundation armors, they will definitely go all out. Are you sure you want to challenge a Knight on a golden pedestal?" Long Haochen took a deep breath, then looked at Yang Haohan very seriously and said, "I am sure."